TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in All Departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Hello and welcome to a new weekly programme that's coming to you from Up the Cherries in All Departments in association with Huddersfield Fan TV. It's the late night football show. And this week we're going to be discussing many topics, including obviously the New England manager. We've got some guests from Reading, Luton, amongst other things. But let me introduce you to my co-host, who will be co-hosting with me on these shows going forward. And that is Ryan from Huddersfield Fan TV. Ryan, how you doing, buddy? You all good?
Hello, Matt. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Really excited to be collaborating on this brand new show. And yeah, no, I'm good and looking forward to the topics that we're going to be discussing this evening. But yeah, exciting to be back on the channel with this new show. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on board, buddy. So obviously, yeah, this new show that we're going to be doing is going to be coming to you weekly. We're going to be mainly on a Friday night, but there'll be some weeks where we will change the night. But it's something that myself and Ryan will be looking at doing each week. And each week we'll be looking at different topics as well as having guests on. So now it's probably best that we introduce our guests for this evening. Our main guests from HTAFCTV TV, Spurs fan channel. Jose, how you doing, buddy?
Good evening, lads. Yeah, I'm all well. As I said, I've just come in from playing football, so I'm a bit tired. I'm aching body, but I'm looking forward to the show. It's definitely action-packed. You've got a lot to talk about, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, honestly, buddy, it's great. It's an honour to have you as our first guest. Now, Jose is a very, very good supporter of the fan channel community. So it's a great honour to have you on as our first guest, mate. And yeah, we'll give you a chance later on to give your channel a shout out. Very good channel. I think we met kind of through another very good channel, Early Doors TV. I think we met through. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, through Early Doors. Yeah, through Tony's channel.
Yeah, Tony and Anthony and Hot Fuzz, they do a cracking job on their channel as well. So it's one of my favourites. One of my must tune into on a Wednesday and Sunday night is their channel. So yeah, another great channel to check out. But let's get started. I don't know where we can start really than the new appointment by the FA. Mr. Tuchel, is he the man for the job? Now I know Ryan's got a lot to say on this, but Jose, what's your views on this one?
My views on this is right. Obviously, my name kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
And even though England have got good players, good squad, they were a million miles off Spain in the Euros. A million miles of Spain. Spain trounced everybody. Spain at the moment are the yardstick, if you like. Spain are ahead of all the European nations, and I would say Spain are ahead of most of the South American nations as well. And I'm just thinking to myself, is Tuchel the person who's going to close that gap in the next 18 months? Because I only see Spain getting better, because they've got a lot of youngsters, and they've got a lot of youngsters that didn't play. So you've got a lot of youngsters that didn't actually play. So your Gavis, Pedri only played a couple of games. Gavi didn't even make it. Kabasi didn't make it in the squad either. So there's a lot of players that Spain have got in and around that didn't play in the Euros. And for me, I just think to myself, is Tuchel the person to close that gap over the next 18 months? I'm not doubting that England have got some really, really good players, and I think most of England's good players seem to be in the attacking department, so midfield and up top. I just think they're yet to find the defensive people that they need, the defensive structure they need in their defence. But Tuchel is a tournament manager. Tuchel is a short-stay manager. He's not a long-term manager. Hence why he's only signed the 18-month contract. Tuchel will bring in a certain way of playing football, I think, and you can't say he's not a winner because he is. You know, where he's been a winner, but he's also been destructive in losing dressing rooms as well. So you take the rough and the smooth in, but it is only an 18-month contract. But for me, as I said, I just look at it and think to myself, is he the final bit of the jigsaw that closes that gap on Spain? Because Spain are just in different league altogether at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like you say, there's players that Spain haven't even brought into their side at the minute, isn't there? And it's quite scary on how Spain can push on from winning that Euros, isn't it? Really, and I mean, Ryan, from an England fan's perspective, I know you've got a lot to say on the FA, and you've had a lot to say on Mr. Southgate and how we did at the Euros. But I mean, this is just Tuchel's record here. I mean, you've got his win percentages. When you look across the board, his win percentages are pretty decent. He's won trophies at pretty much the majority of clubs he's been at. Is he the man that's going to finally bring a trophy home for England?
For me, look, first of all, I'm really happy that he's coming, to be honest with you. I think it's just a nice change that the FA haven't just gone for a yes man this time, which I thought they really were going to do again. I wouldn't be surprised if they would have kept Cards on, even though the forms have been shocking, and I don't think it would ever going to work there. But I was a bit dubious about what they were going to do because they've been proven they can't be trusted in the past. For me, look at what he's won. Look at how much he's won wherever he's been. So if that doesn't give you any optimism or some kind of optimism, positivity that we can do something here, then I don't know what will. If you look at specifically that Champions League he won with Chelsea, that was a really average Chelsea side, and he still managed to, with his tactics and his style of play, he still managed to get them over the line. So I think that's impressive. So for me, I feel like he is. I've just got a funny feeling. I think he is the man to do it, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but this CV doesn't lie. And by the way, I think about the kind of disruptive nature of sometimes these dressing rooms at times. I think to me that's a player's problem rather than a coach problem, because at the end of the day, I think there is far too many players that think they can down tools and think they're the boss of the dressing room instead of actually just getting on with what they're meant to do and actually, listening to the instruction of the coach and just playing football. You know what I mean? So I think for me, that disruptive side of what Josie's been saying about the dressing rooms that he's maybe been in the past, I think that's more of a player thing for me. And yeah, if you don't like his way, then don't be involved, basically. But I believe in this guy. I thought his press conference as well. I don't know about anybody else watched it, but I just think his personality, he's so passionate as well, isn't he? And that's what we need on the touchline at times. Somebody that is going to be really passionate on that touchline. But I thought his press conference was really refreshing and what he had to say about everything. So, look, I'm feeling positive for England. I think this is the best England manager that I've seen coming in my lifetime, anyway. For me, his CV doesn't lie, and that excites me. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, just to put it to both you quickly, just before we move on, we look at some comments from some of the pundits. If you were having to pick the manager, if you were part of the FA, on that panel to pick the New England manager, Jose, because I know there's a lot of people saying that, the England manager should be English and all this, but if you were, on that FA panel, which English manager would you have put forward for that role potentially?
Right, you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance. I mean, I know for Bournemouth, right, but I don't know for Huddersfield. What nationality is the Huddersfield manager?
He's English.
He's English. Okay, so the Huddersfield manager is English, but your manager at Bournemouth is Spanish.
That's correct.
Okay, so at the end of the day, and where all the clubs are where? They're here in England, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever league we're in, we're all here in England. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that's correct.
And at the end of the day, our clubs all pick who they see is the best fit and the best manager for their club. So therefore, why should it not be the same for England as well? So people can turn around and say, yeah, the manager should be English and that, and I can see the argument. but surely you pick the best person for the job, and that's what you should be doing all the time. Now, if there aren't any, if the caliber of candidates are not up to the standard that you've got English people in there, then so be it. You've got to pick the best person for the job. You've got a criteria. You've got someone that has to fit a certain mold for you, if you like. And they've gone and they've done their selection process. What I will say is that they've turned around and said they spoke to up to 10 people. My concern is, and it's not my concern because it's got nothing to do with me, but when you hear two managers come out today and clearly state we were not interviewed or talked to the FA for the job, and the FA have turned around, Bullingham turned around and said, yeah, we've interviewed, or during the process we've interviewed quite a few English managers. Well, who are they then? Because Eddie House come out today and said I wasn't interviewed or approached. Graham Potter has also come out today and said I wasn't interviewed and approached. How many English or active? I'm going to say active, and even non-active. Did they interview Sam Allardyce again? Then was he one of them? Because he's out of a job at the moment. I'm just saying I don't know. I haven't got a clue who they've interviewed, because two English boys have come out straight away and said, "Nah, we were never approached." So who does that leave? Well, I mean, Lee Carsley must have been one of them. Surely Lee Carsley must have been one that was interviewed.
Yeah.
And I think Lee Carsley was interviewed, knew that he weren't getting the job, and when he knew that he weren't getting the job, he then moved on to say, he's what he talked about after the first international break, and then the way he spoke after the second set of internationals, this one just gone, something's happened. The conversation has taken place because Lee Carsley's stance has moved completely. We've got to bring in a manager who's won things. I haven't won things yet. Well, you have, mate. You've won a World Cup and that with youngsters. So you have won things, but I think the conversation had already taken place.
Yeah, no,
like I said, I'm interested. That's where I sit on it. You just pick the best manager for the job, and it's just the other side of me says it's interesting because two English managers have come out and said, "No, we weren't interviewed."
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing for me. It's who have they actually, say that they've spoken to 10 managers when I can't even name 5 managers that I would want to speak to be honest. Ryan, I mean, if it wasn't for Tuchel, who would you have picked?
To be honest with you, the list that was out there, I wasn't really excited by any of them really. And when we talk about the English managers, I was surprised that they didn't look at kind of interview like the English ones in terms of Graham Potter and to me. So I understand that, but for me, I think Tuchel was probably the best one on the list. So, but yeah. The thing is for me as well is that, by the way, is that these people that that saying that fans are saying they want an English manager. Well, we haven't got a plethora of English managers that are good, the very best. And for me, I agree with Josie. I think we have to be going for the best manager, best coach, best manager. It doesn't matter where they're from in my eyes. I want to see England go and try and win something. It doesn't matter. And the reality is we are not bringing through any top English managers, and they're not even getting an opportunity in many clubs in the Premier League, are they? So that's the problem.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just some comments that have come through. One here, big up guys and Jose, big up chat. One here from Matty, big up Jose. Another one, big up Matty.
Yeah, they're talking to each other.
They're talking to each other there, yeah. Another one, big up Jose from Grant Packham.
Brighton supporter.
Yeah. Yeah, good model of a club, Brighton. Big up all.
And Jess as well, Leeds United.
Yeah. And did they win in the end?
2-0.
2-0.
I predicted a 2-0, so I've got it. So I'm happy.
Okay, happy days. Well, I'm sure he's very happy as well. But let's just very quickly before we bring in our next guest, go through very quickly what the pundits have decided to say without clicking that one because that's the wrong one. So I'd see if you guys agree with any of these pundits. But Gary Neville He said that they probably got the best available coach in the world at this moment in time. He told Sky Sports, fit in that criteria, they are absolutely spot on. I'm not sure it meets the criteria of the St. George's Park and the belief in English coaches and the growth in the English team's performances over the last few years. Not just the men's, but the women's and youth teams as well. St. George's Park was going to be a hotbed of proving that enough English coaches could get back to the top of European football. It doesn't feel like the strategic decision. It feels like an instinctive one off the back of what's happened in the last 2 weeks. Everybody in our country, including myself, wish him well, all the best, and hope we can get over the line and win a trophy. But I think there are some serious questions for the FA to answer in respect of English coaching. And that's what Gary Neville said. Mr. Jamie Carragher believes it doesn't feel right to have a foreign coach in charge of England. He said, I'm not the most patriotic of people. The England manager has to be this or that. It's not about England. It's international football, the whole point of it. Certainly with the major nations who compete for titles it's our best versus their best. Club football is different. We love it. It's different nationalities and managers and players. It's a mix and it's brilliant. The thing that makes international football different is it being people from your country. It's skewed a little bit different with players, maybe not being born in the country or countries, having a foreign coach who has a foreign coach who drags the whole footballing structure up with them, passing on his experience and expertise to the coaches in the system. And then finally, Mr. Redknapp, Harry Redknapp, who's a friend of the channel. He's been on our channel quite a few times. He's lost his job quite quickly at a couple of clubs. It's not like he's been a massive success. Now, that's a point I don't know whether I agree on there. He's come and gone at a couple of clubs. I'm very patriotic and I think we should have an Englishman, but obviously the field was very small to choose from. Englishmen don't get many chances to manage in the Premier League now. It's all foreign owners and it's always got to be a foreign manager. We've only got 2 or 3 managers in the Premier League who are English. The FA, with all the money they spend on coaching courses, it's sad. It's not like Jurgen Klopp, who went to Liverpool and was a great success and stayed for many years. You need to have a little bit of common sense. Pick the right players, pick the right positions, make them feel great about themselves, make them feel great about playing for the best country in the world. He also then added, that's what it is. How long do you get to work with them? You don't really get a chance to work with them. It's not like you're coaching them. Lee Carsey said he had about 20 minutes to work on a system. That's about what you get to work on, and a bit of shape, patterns of play. That's what Harry Redknapp said. Do you guys agree with any of those comments from those pundits?
I think some of them have got good points, but for me, I'm not just referring to this Harry Redknapp one. What does he mean about he's not? It's not like he stayed at clubs long. The fact is, I think the record doesn't lie. He's won things, and whilst I acknowledge that everybody wants to see an English coach get a chance, I go back to what I said. There is not the quality. And the reason they don't have the chance in the Premier League is because they're not good enough. We're not bringing through any coaches. So you can talk about the FA putting lots of money into these coaching courses, but nothing's coming of that. So something is not going right here. So I think some of the comments are quite naive. Jamie Carragher saying it should be an English coach. Well, why should it? We want the very best coach. At the moment, the English managers are not the very best coaches. That's the reality. Gary Neville said a few good points, but I think again, the FA have got something to answer for about not having an English manager. Well, why do they? Because the fact is, if you look at the Premier League and the top leagues around Europe as well, they're not really getting a chance. So you've got to ask, why is that instead? So I don't really agree overall with what I've listened to here with these so-called pundits.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my view on it personally is that if he is, good enough to manage England, then so be it. If he can bring us a trophy home, then I'm all for it. I mean, I personally, think if he's the right man for the job, then let him get on with it, and let's hope he's successful. That's the way I see it. But there's a comment there from Anthony. Obviously, us guys know Anthony from Early Doors TV. Big up, lads. Hope you're well. I got to say, I think Huddersfield will beat your teams.
Sorry, can I just say on the England situation, right? What I'm going to say about the
Yeah.
pundits and what they said, there is some truth in one of the comments that was made about the English coaches. The FA decided on a program some time ago to develop English coaches, to bring English coaches to come through, because the problem that you found, it wasn't just for England but for the leagues. It seemed to be that the league was taken over by foreign managers, and there wasn't enough English managers coming through. So they said that they were going to create a pathway, to create courses, they were going to create opportunities to bring more English managers into the game, and hopefully create a path and a program that would lead to future managers being English that managed England. Now, we've been saying that, has that succeeded or has that not succeeded? Because if you look at the amount of English managers there are now, are there less English managers about now than what there were? So if you're creating a pathway, so basically the manager you got out there, you got Eddie Howe out there, who's probably the highest profile English manager at the moment. Right? You've got him out there. Have they created a pathway for Eddie Howe? Well, not really. Eddie Howe is a manager in his own right. He's a good manager. He's English in his own right. He hasn't gone down a pathway to get there. He's done it through his own volition, in my mind. But then you've got people like, you've got your people like your Frank Lampards and your Steven Gerrards. People like that should have been put on pathways. People like that should have been the ones that have been put on pathways. And number two, so you can have some really good English number twos at clubs at the moment. Well, get them number twos and put them on pathways, and that's where I think England have failed, because there was a vision that was set out, and I don't think that vision has been hit, and that's why these conversations are now happening. If they go back down to that path, I mean, but for saying that, most of the international teams, a lot of international teams, they have foreign managers. It's as simple as that. They have foreign managers. So anyway, that was what I was going to say. There was a pathway that, and I don't think it's being used.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Totally. Well, we've got a guest in the background, a Reading fan. Just before we move on to the Reading topic, let's get his quick view on Tuchel before we move on. Johnny, hello.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us on the Late Football Show. Just briefly before we move on to Reading, what's your views on the England manager's appointment?
Well, I was just listening to the comments there, and we actually, guy Jeff Pike, who is ex-West Ham, was on our 1871 podcast and talking about the whole coaching pathway, as you were just talking about there. And he was actually quite surprised how many professional footballers, ex-players, aren't interested. So there's two sides to the story. I think that's a big issue. There's Tuchel. It's like anything, isn't it? It's foreign manager, foreign owners. Is the best man for the job? You won't know until we win something. Southgate was brilliant at what he did to a point, personally speaking, but limited at the very top level of tactics and coaching when you've got probably the best group of English players that we've had for a long time. And when you're talking about the Gerrards and Lampards, that era, that didn't work because of all the egos and all the splits. He brought that together, but just couldn't quite take it to that final level. We'll see what happens. There's good English managers out there, but how many have won, the Premier League in England recently? You could talk about it forever, couldn't you, to be honest? That's way above my level with Reading at the minute. So we're just talking about surviving as a club, to be honest.
But what Jeff Pike said, that you just said, he said, he's right in what he says, but there's a reason why the players don't want to go and become coaches, because there is no pathway. So if there's no pathway and no support, you've got to learn somewhere. To coach, you have to learn somewhere. I mean, you have to have ideas yourself and that. You get your coaching badges, you've got to have your own ideas. You've got to be able to set up sessions and stuff like that. But there's got to be somewhere that you can go and learn from. And there's no pathway.
There is at clubs like Reading. Maybe because it's been forced, because we've got a very good, our academy is probably one of the best in the country still, despite the mess that we're in. You've got ex-players like Michael Gilks, Mikael Legerwood, Noel Hunt, Eamon Dolan that set it up originally, and it works so well because they understand football, they understand what's needed. But it's as Jeff was saying to us, it's about life. It's not just about football. They're educating these young people for life, and these guys know what they're doing. But I think you guys are obviously a different level now compared to where we are. Maybe the whole thing gets blurred and it gets lost in translation. The Premier League is all about success and about winning and about failure or success at very fine margins. At Reading, we don't have that. We're about survival, and you guys have been there. I talked to Simon on the Talking Cherries because we're linked together, and I know where you were as a club. My mum was lived in Bournemouth, so I totally get where as a club where you've been, and we're there now. So it's careful what you wish for, I think, and I think there's some great coaches out there, but it's rent a name, isn't it? For a lot of these guys, I don't see why people like Lampard and Rooney get quoted for the best jobs because of their name. Who makes them? What makes them successful just because they played for England? And you've got other guys that, like Gareth Southgate, probably wasn't the best player for England, but obviously was a decent coach. But I remember he was coaching against Reading in our first game in the Premier League, and he lost 3-2 in 2006. And look at that, that's 18 years later, and he's got to that point in his career. So it's not instant, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I think the whole, I watched the press conference the other day, and they were asking about whether he's going to sing the national anthem. I was like, oh, seriously, come on, Lee Carlsley didn't want to because he's played for Ireland, or he doesn't have to. Like, what does that? If you don't sing the national anthem, why are you going to win the World Cup? Like, come on, get a grip. Like, that's just stupid stuff. That's just stirring up, toxic stuff that's going on in the rest of the country. And that's sad. But anyway, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, no, it's great to it's what it's all about. It's everyone's got an opinion, haven't they? But obviously, thank you for joining us tonight, Johnny. Obviously, to discuss unfortunately what's going on at the Majeski. Well, it's not called
thanks for that.
It was called the Majeski when I last went there. But I believe Select Car Leasing, is it, or something?
Select Car Leasing Stadium. Have you know?
Right, yes. Well, it's obviously you've just hit the nail on the head. Obviously, Bournemouth have been in this kind of position before where, you don't know whether your club's going to be there tomorrow or, the ownership and things like that. But, I mean, the guy that owns you, can you give us a bit of background on him? And I mean, I've got a few notes that's on the screen there, but what can you tell us about your owner?
Do I have to keep it polite, or is that no swear words? Look, we've it's been a long journey of horrible, toxic situation where we've had 18 points deducted now in the last 3 or 4 years. Like anyone, I think when he came in, I think he came just before the playoff final. We drew with Huddersfield. Well, sorry, we lost to Huddersfield on penalties. And I think he just thought, I buy a club and I get to the Premier League and I make myself a fortune, and that's the easy bit. Football doesn't work like that. He'd also tried to buy Hull, I think, in the Premier League previously, and the Premier League went no. But the EFL are, not the brightest bunch of light bulbs at times, and they've created this problem. And now they don't know what to do with it because They can't get rid of him. And his history, where he's employed a guy called Ron Gawley, who became our CEO, pretty much was part in a destruction of our club, from a well-run club to the days of, Sir John Majewski back in the good days, and when we got to the Premier League, and it was run properly. It was run properly from top to bottom, because there was a proper businessman who understood local business and the local community. We've had, since he left, we've had probably 5 overseas owners. I heard you guys talking about overseas, and overseas owners don't understand the local community, and they don't understand Reading, and they don't understand the club. We the Sell Before We Die campaign, I'm sure you guys have been aware of, has been amazing. I'm on the board of the Supporters Trust at Reading. I'm not involved in Sell Before We Die, but I've been involved in different things with that to help them. And it's been a slog for literally over a year plus. We had the match abandoned v Port Vale, because nobody was listening. Nobody listens. And I was saying about the whole Premier League thing, that's the only thing that seems to matter in football these days. But clubs like Reading, clubs like Bournemouth, clubs like Bury, they are the backbone of the football. And it's about our community, and it's about our heritage. And when that, the thought of your club going down the toilet is horrific. And he's had the club up for sale for a year. He still hasn't sold it. I'm sure you saw about Rob Courig, the Wycombe owner, which was another bizarre. If you, I'm very, very passionate about mental health, but if you look at the mental health of Reading fans and what we've been through for this last year, it's unreal. The issues. He tried to sell the training ground to Courig at Wycombe when he was there. And our training ground and our academy is, still one of the best, despite all the mess we've been in. Who tries to sell it, that to another club, and then the guy that tries to buy it then tries to buy the club, and he's there walking around in his Reading tracksuit, the purple turtle, and there's various stories about why that fell through, and now you've seen the latest stories about what's going on with the Chinese government. I only see, and I don't know personally what's going on with that, because the guys that are involved with that. But I think he's in serious mess with he's taken out a loan on the stadium, which again, it's just horrible. The parts around the ground are owned by different previous owners. I think the car park's owned by one, and then someone else, and you actually, if you could make a soap opera out of a football club, Reading would definitely be up there. I think it's just it's a lesson to any other football club that this is how things can be done so badly. And there's good people that work there. There's good people that, Ruben Sellers is an amazing guy for sticking with us. The players are dealing with, points deductions, not getting paid. The fans are dealing with, our stuff that you had to deal with in other clubs. And the EFL keep rolling out and saying, oh, it can't happen again, but it keeps happening again. And then, the whole ownership in football thing, which was going through the government, has kind of been delayed because of the change of government. All I want is, our club to exist. Football fans, we're not that fickle. We get relegated, we get promoted, we lose games, we win games. But the thought of your club being out of existence, which has been a threat, is pretty scary. And you guys have been there, so you know what it's like to be that close. And when you think that something's been, Rob Courig come out and said basically, the deal's done, it's going to be done on the Wednesday and we're all good. Maybe he cheesed off Die Young because people don't like him anymore, and his attitude. It's so hard because, he doesn't speak English. He's not in the country. There's rumors that he can't even leave China now because he's under some sort of flight embargo. And God knows what else, and loans that he owns the Chinese government. You can't, I could be here till 6 o'clock in the morning telling you about it, because it's just bizarre. It's a horrible situation, and all we want is our club back. As any fan, and I've been a fan. I was born in Reading, and I live over in Ireland now. But it's my club. It's my identity. It's all our identity. We've been through the good times and the bad times. We get that, but this situation is just absolutely vile. And I 100% honestly don't know if it's going to be solved. He's been involved in 2 other clubs that have gone out of business and been liquidated. It's scary. It's absolutely frightening. And we thought, when we did the protest march it was roughly this time last year. There's 2,000 people took that march after the previous horrible situation was when Robert Maxwell tried to turn us and Oxford into the Thames Valley Royals 30 odd years before. You're kind of going like this, the fans care about the club, as you've cared about your club, and we just want it to be ours again, and whatever that takes, and we don't know, I actually would probably quite easily start crying now. It's a horrific situation, and I run I'd give a quick plug for the Talking Royals, things that I do. It's a mental health support group for fans, because we've been through the mill for the last year. When football's an escape from the crappy lives we lead sometimes, and when the threat of that's taken away as well, you're like, geez, is there nothing sacred? And that's what it feels like with Reading. The women's team's been destroyed. Like, I don't know, people that know that women's team was one of the kind of groundbreaking women's team that had one of the first teams to play at a men's stadium. They were probably top 3-4 in the Premier League women's team, and fighting above the weight. They're now playing tier 5, so basically playing Sunday League, and on Sunday they're playing Caversham United in a game, which for us, I know Bournemouth women's team are on the up. It's like, how much destruction can you do to a team? And fans care, and all of you guys and anyone else cares, but you just feel like you're alone with it, and it's just like this toxic thing that doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's I saw the podcast that was released earlier on. I think it was earlier on today, where you had the agent on, who was talking about all the players, like the ladies team. Obviously, he was talking about that.
Yeah,
and obviously it's also affecting, the future players of Reading, like the players that you've got in your youth academies and things like that. Because obviously, I'm assuming like parents are probably thinking, is it right to keep my kid within this academy, or move them on to another one where there might be some more potential for them? I mean, it's difficult for the whole club all round, isn't it?
Yeah, the women's academy went. That was gone, and we're not quite sure exactly who's to blame for that, but someone's to blame. Last season they managed to stay up in the championship with difficult circumstances, and you think, wow, we can start to bounce back, and this summer we're going to rebuild. Then you've got Mark Bowen, who gets banned from football for gambling issues. Then you get Nigel Hell banned for something else, and you're like, I don't know how many ladders we've gone under, or how many black cats that have gone past our path, but it's like, what's next? And that's what Reading fans feel. It's like, geez, like, have we not had enough to deal with? And the one light in this horrible world is our academy, because we've had to, because the way we're still under an embargo where we can't sign players for money, and we thought until a new owner came in we might be able to do that. And then we actually sold Femi Aziz to Millwall because somebody told the club that you could reinvest that money, and that actually wasn't the case, which is just ridiculous. That kind of, where's next? But like, it's given guys like Andre Garcia, who made his debut at 16, and other guys that, they're being able to play every week. And Tyler Bindon is probably one of the, a shining light from a 19-year-old lad he's playing regularly for New Zealand. But when he came to us the summer before last, was going to, you'd think, oh yeah, he's going to be a squad player playing the academy, but he's been chucked in the deep end, and for a footballing point of view, for a sink or swim, they've learned on the job, and yet we know we're going to get bad results, but that Ruben's come out and said, it's affected him because he's been dealing with this since he's been at the club. And he's trying to protect a lot of young lads that, are trying to make their way in the game. And, Charlie Savage came from Man United to join us. And his dad's obviously, Robbie, and very vocal. And it's not fair on them. And it's not fair on their families. They have mortgages to pay and bills to pay and mouths to feed and all that stuff. It's a disgusting, horrible situation that you just hope gets solved fairly soon. Like, there's more new bidders and new people interested in buying the club. Hopefully it won't take as long because all the background stuff has been done. But I don't trust the process of will it actually be ever solved at the minute. And I don't mean that to increase people's anxiety. We've waited a year and we're still back to square one despite everything. And he has, he's gone to exclusivity with someone else. Deal hasn't been done. I don't know what, and the problem is, because he's living in a different country and doesn't speak English, we don't know exactly what, if he wants to come on here or come on a podcast with us and explain it with a translator, good luck to us, but he wouldn't. That's the problem. So we're just hoping that there's a resolution that our club can live and breathe, and I think that's, I know we all have our rivalries in football, but I wouldn't wish any club to go out of business. I wouldn't wish any club, because it's more than football. It's about a community. It's about people. It's about livelihoods. But who knows?
Yeah, it's like me and Ryan were saying a little bit earlier, these owners sometimes buy football clubs, and like you've said, they don't realise the history and the importance of the club to the community. These owners are just really custodians of the club, aren't they? They're there to look after the club for the fan base and make sure that the club is there running sufficiently, to play football every Saturday. You say there's a potential new buyer possibly in the process. Is there going to be a case where maybe this, well, from what I read, that the £55 million debt is secured against the stadium? Is that going to possibly be a block again?
I don't think so, but then who knows? You just don't know. You just don't know, because there's lots of people that now. I think it's Mike Gow. He's doing a lot of kind of investigation into sort of the Chinese kind of, because it's very silent. It's very hard. It's just it's a very difficult situation because it's all silence and it's all rumors, and we don't know. So it could be, but I think from what I gather is that anyone that's buying the club or looking at buying the club knows that, and it's an issue that can be addressed and dealt with. But like I said earlier, until somebody comes out and stands on the pitch and says, I've bought Reading Football Club and it's mine, I won't believe it after the full storms with Rob saying that I'm gonna the deal's going to be done on Wednesday. I met him at a game a few weeks ago when I was over, and he seems very nice and whatever, but he's a businessman. He's kind of like the Wickham version of Donald Trump, I guess. It's hard. It's hard because we just want the club back. That's the bottom line. We don't care where we are in the league. We don't care what's going on elsewhere. It's just our foot. We've already lost half of it, and people can think what they want of women's football, but women's football to me is huge, and our club is huge, and we'll never get back from that for a long, long time, and that's disgusting and horrible. No one seems to care about that. Now we're trying to get the men's club back to somewhere where it deserves to be, and get our identity back.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying there about the ladies' game. Obviously, we've seen a massive development at Bournemouth in the ladies' game, and obviously, you guys were the pinnacle of the ladies' game. To see everything at the club be affected by this is, and like I said, I've been there as a Bournemouth fan. I remember going around with a bucket as a little kid, trying to raise money to keep the club going. But it just before we, let you go, and thank you very much for joining us tonight, Johnny. It's been a good insight into the actual problems that Reading are facing. But is there any truth? Could the Royals be under ownership from the Chinese government? Is there any truth in that? I mean, or is this a case of, again, we don't know, or
who knows? Honestly, like there's rumors. I've seen the rumors about that. We could be owned by Dai Young, Chinese government, or Del Boy Trotter. To be honest, the way things are going, we just don't know because the people don't talk, and the club aren't. The owner, the current owner, is certainly not saying anything. The people at the club, maybe obviously they're bound by certain confidentiality things, I'm sure. It's really hard to say. It's really difficult because we just don't know. Like we don't know. If you go, like, I'm not a finance person, but if you go onto the government websites for finance, for you can see who owns football clubs and all the different things. But Reading's the biggest problem is, I think, is because it's so fragmented. It's not like one person owns the club and the training ground and everything else. Because of all the different owners we've had over the last 10 years, that one owns that one, that one owns that one, that one owns that one. And I think it was hinted at in one of the conversations around ownership that you're having to talk to different people in different time zones. I don't know if it's that dramatic, but it kind of seems to feel that it is kind of it's not straightforward. It's not like I'm going to buy Bournemouth, I want to buy your training ground, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. At Reading, it's the Thai people own this and they own that, and it's like it's a mess, it's a shambles, it's a head wrecker. Because let's be honest, financial wise, what Reading's training ground is worth a lot of money because it's on a an ex-golf course, and it's got grounds, and it's a brilliant facility. It's top notch. I don't know what a football ground's worth these days. Is in the stadium, and then there's concerns that would they try and sell the stadium and turn it into residential housing or God knows whatever. And these rumors start as they do from whatever, and you kind of going. It just adds to people's anxiety, and as I think my closing statement, if you like, from a person that's been through my own mental health stuff, and for speaking up for Reading fans, and speaking to Simon in the Talking Cherries, it's really hard going, and everyone's had enough, and we just want to get our club back on an even keel, run properly. And the players can just focus on playing the games, and the manager can focus on coaching the team. And eventually we'll get all the other stuff back to where it belongs to be, because we are, we're a proud club. We've been going since 1871, and that's all we want. Like it's that simple. We just need, we need it. We all need a break from this. It's absolute madness.
Yeah. And like I say, I totally sympathise with you, Johnny, and with what's going on there, and hopefully, hopefully there is light at the end of the tunnel for yourself and all the Reading fans. And Jose, Ryan, have you got any questions for Johnny before we let Johnny go?
I'm not going to pile on any more misery because Reading fans have been going through it for a fair number of years now, and it's unfortunate that the situation's got to where it is at. I'm not going to pile in. There's no point. It's just an awful state, and hopefully, God willing, there'll be some light at the end of the tunnel for Reading Football Club and their fans.
Let's hope so. Appreciate
it. Ryan, before.
I don't think there's anything else really to say other than obviously, hopefully, things do change. It must be awful. And for me, though, I just can't understand why the EFL, why are they not doing more? Like
because they can't. They actually can't. Like, I think there's a point. They've never been in this situation before. I could be wrong, and anyone wants to sue me. From what I gather is that they usually a club wants to sell, and they an owner wants to sell, and they buy it, and they do this. This is just such a complicated mess. I think the EFL have kind of going. They didn't handle it right for a lot of things. And, they keep fining the owner, and the owner's not paying the fines, and that's not going to work. And then your points deductions, that's hitting the players and the fans and the club. That's really not solving the problem. But they've got their processes and their rules that they have to follow, and that's why the whole new kind of maybe with the government changing the whole making sure that we're the last club that has to go through all this mess, because it's not about us, it's about every football club in the country. Whatever team you support, it's your community, whether you live here or live there. That means the world to you, and to have someone destroy it bit by bit. We're still existing. We're kind of lucky compared to other clubs that have gone off the radar, but it's not right. So I the EFL. We could sit here and talk about the EFL all night, but I know that they're tied to what they can do, where they're at as an organisation, but they need to up the game about how they let people run clubs. Like Di Young's, he spent overspent 200 million, I think, in 3 years. That's just absolutely obscene that it was allowed to do that. And we could talk about that all night, but I think at the end of the day that football's for fans, football's for the club, and football's for the community, and that's where we need to get back to. And look, hopefully we will one day. I've lost enough hair as it is. But look, you guys, if there's somebody that can show a club that can bounce back, like Luton, yourselves, and many other clubs that I can't even mention, there is hope. And we'll always keep the hope, because there's so many good people involved at Reading. With Star, with the Sell Before We Die, the Tyler's Den, the Elm Park Royals, the 1871 podcast. I'm with. We care about our club, and nobody can ever change that. It's our club, it's our community, and it's our home. Yeah. So
definitely, yeah. You've hit the nail on the head there. You can't give up hope. And hopefully soon, we'll be able to invite you on again and talk about your new owner and the future looking bright for Reading. That's what I'm hoping for. We've had some great battles with Reading over the years. I've been to Majesty many times, and it's a great stadium to go to. Great fan base. So, Johnny, I wish you personally all the best, my friend. I wish the football club all the best. I hope it gets sorted soon. But just before you leave us, do you want to give the podcast a quick shout out, the one that you're on regular?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Why not? Thanks for that. So the 1871 podcast is me, Mark Roach, and Dylan Kerr. We're not a regular like the Tyler's Den and the Elm Park Royals. We do it when we can, and we have lots of guests on. Talking Reading guys that have played for different clubs. I still want to get Jan Kermigan on and do a joint talking Royals, talking Cherries. For our mental health one that I do with Simon, and that's the other side for us, is the talking platform. Simon does great work with the Cherries. I did a walk there about 3 years ago, about 24 hours from Reading to Bournemouth, and met Simon. And then since then we've done the talking thing together. And mental health to me is as important as our football club, and we want to make sure that people reach out and ask for help when they're struggling. So that's the big thing for me. So look after yourselves and stay safe.
Yeah, definitely, and thank you very much for taking the time out to join us tonight, Johnny, and take care, and we'll speak soon.
Will do. Cheers, take care, guys. Good luck for the rest of the season.
And you, mate.
Thanks, Johnny. Take care.
No worries.
Cheers, buddy. Okay, so straight on with the next guest. Let's bring him in. He's been patiently waiting in the backstage for us, and that is a Luton Town fan, Mark. Mark, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you ever so much for your patience there. Obviously, with this being our first show and being live and everything, obviously timing's probably not my best subject, but
not a problem. Probably not going to sleep tonight anyway.
Yes, I was going to say a big old game tomorrow, isn't it? So Yeah, it's a bit of a derby for you lot, isn't it? You and Watford.
It's massive. It's like I think we'll forget our start. Be easy to forget our start to the season if we get a win tomorrow. But yeah, it feels bigger than normal. But yeah, as you know, because you've won yours this season.
Yeah, yeah. Just before we look into your season, how is Tom doing now? Is Tom back playing? Is he back in training? Where's he at with his progress on returning to the game?
So he's training at the Brace at the training ground. He says he wants to come back and play again, but quite rightly, the club haven't put any pressure on him, just to let him sort of get back at his own pace, basically. Obviously, he's been through all the tests, he's having all the advice, and yeah, he's we all know what happens, and he's got a new family, and there's a lot going on for him. But I think he said that he does want to come back, and that would just be like the most emotional, amazing thing, just to see him back on the pitch after what he's been through. But he is the heart and soul, and he epitomises everything what the football club's about. But at the end of the day, as we've seen with sort of recent news this week, there's some things are more important than football, and being healthy. And last season, at the end of last season, walking around the pitch with his little baby, and yeah, it just puts everything into perspective.
Yeah, massively, and yeah, it's great to see that he's doing well anyway. And it's been a funny one for you guys, isn't it? This season. I mean, last season in the Premier League, you know, I really wanted you guys to stay up. I just think your story is like Bournemouth's story. You know, it's a magical story. You know, we were both at the bottom of that League Two that time. You know, we had minus 17 points. You guys had minus 30, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you guys couldn't claw your way out. And obviously, you spent some time in the basement league. But you know, you've come back up. You were such a great side. You know, such a great spirited side. I thought last year. You know, no matter who you played, you dug in. You gave it a real good go. But this year, you know, you've not really lost many players. You've added a couple, but you kind of not really made the start that I thought maybe you guys would have made it. Is it still a relegation hangover, do you think, from last season? Or
well, I mean, yes, you're right, we lost some players. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to replace Ross Barkley. He was a generational player, and he was just it was just like, to have him playing for us for a season was just incredible. So you're not going to replace Sambi Lokonga, Ross Barkley, the people we bought. We never sort of rush into signing players like for one transfer window. I mean, Baptiste from Brentford, and we got Will Walters from Arsenal. Every player we sign, we're looking at the next 5 years, or we're just looking at the future, basically. And we still seem to have not got over our injury curse. If you thought we had injured defenders out last season, we've now got 5 out for tomorrow. So, and then we had some injuries were like coming back from last year, like Morecambe, and yeah, basically it's been a slow start, but it just seems this season has been very un-Luton-like in the performances, the way that we've been playing. I mean, you mentioned what we were like last year. We'd give everyone a go. We'd just be horrible to play against. And yes, we got punished last year by quality that you face in the Premier League. But this year, the errors are just both ends, and it's just been really disappointing. I think more the performances as much as the results has been probably as disappointing as anything else. Just the fact that there have been some real lackluster performances, and we seem to be getting overrun in midfield. Now, as we came up, there's a lot of expectation. Everyone expected us to fly back up, and obviously in the Championship we're going to have a lot more possession, but what we did last year was on very little possession, but we stayed in the games and we battled. So maybe the expectation is weighing on us, but yeah, it is worrying at the moment. But I firmly believe that a win tomorrow will change everything.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, have you got anything to add at this point, mate?
No. I mean, I'm thinking about particularly Huddersfield situation where we got to the Premier League. I feel like that was the worst thing that happened to us because we weren't ready for, going to the Premier League at the time. And obviously we, from that, I know we stayed up the first season and we went down the second season, but from that, it's been kind of a downward spiral since then. Obviously now we find ourselves in League One. So it's, do you think that Luton were ready for the Premier League when they went up? Because I kind of think that maybe they weren't quite, they were in it's kind of, I can see similarities between us and yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, we're probably 2 or 3 years ahead of the plan, basically. The club had a plan from when we were in the conference to, like, the plan was to get in the Premier League, and we were ahead of that plan. And you're not going to say, no, I don't want to go up.
Yeah.
But also we're building a new ground, which will be 27, 28. And we went up, then obviously we had to spend money to get our ground up to standard for the Premier League. The thing about our club is that we're not going to break the bank. Staying in the Premier League wasn't the be all and end all. We wanted to stay there, obviously, but it's not the be all and end all. And once again, this season, we weren't going to, obviously we had parachute payments. I think people were asking silly money for players we wanted. We know our price and we're not going to pay above that to break the bank. And we're obviously financing a new stadium, which is on its way. And it's interesting, it's heartbreaking listening to your interview with the guys from Reading. It's just heartbreaking to hear what they're going through. And we've been in a similar situation, and it's just heartbreaking. But we know that our club is run by good Luton people that have got the best interests of the club and also the community at heart. And we will not make a decision that will put the club at risk by overspending. And when the new ground comes, it will be amazing. But yeah, a lot of people said, we should have spent more money this window and we should have spent more to try and stay in the Premier League. But that's not what we're about. We're not going to go and spend 20 million on a striker. It's not what we're about and what we do.
Yeah. I mean, Jose, what was your thoughts on Luton last season in terms of their fight to stay in the league? I mean, when you saw them play against Tottenham, what did you feel that Luton brought to the league?
I mean, we got all the usual that you get. You'll be down by Christmas, and we got all the usual comments. And I think the turning point really was the Arsenal game. So Rob decided to change tact and just says we're going to have a real go at teams, and we lost 4-3 at home to Arsenal, who ended up being runners up. And although we went down, I think everyone was so proud of the fact that we gave it a real go. Yes, there were games where we just got absolutely outclassed, like Man City, but we're not the first and we won't be the last.
Yeah.
And just feeling of real pride that we gave it a go, and that, I mean, I still think even with the injuries we had, if we didn't have all the injuries, then, and every team gets injuries, I get all that, but I still think that we probably could have stayed up if we had a bit more luck with that. So yeah, I think we showed Luton in a good light, in that we're almost like other teams' second favourite team in the Premier League. And yeah, we came away with it with a lot of pride and a lot of credit, but we just lacks that quality both ends, basically in both boxes. Which, funny enough, that's what we're struggling with again this season.
Yeah. Sorry, Jose. Sorry, you're about to say something there. Sorry. After
You asked me what I thought of Luton, and when we played them last year, is what you said to me.
Yeah. What did you think from a Spurs perspective last year?
Right. So, not just when they played Spurs, but what I found about Luton last year is Luton had a dogged determination. They played for each other. They defended as a team. They attacked as a team. They were a proper unit when they played, and they gave most people a game. Now, when we played them, I think we played them at Luton at Kenilworth Road first of all, and it's the day that Bissouma got sent off and Mickey van der Ven got that goal from the corner, and we beat Luton 1-0. We had more chances than Luton on that day, but it was kind of it was like that. Luton scared us that day, and then when we played them at White Hart Lane, Tafit Chong scored after 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we scored 2 goals in the second half to win 2-1. And the winner was 5 minutes before time by Son. And Luton gave us a game that day as well. I mean, we had a lot of possession. We had a lot more chances, but Luton stayed in the game. And that's what they did last year. Last year, against everybody they played, more often than not, they stayed in games because they played, as I said, they played as a team. They attacked as a unit and they defended as a unit. There's players. You had loan players that have left you, gone back, haven't you? You had loan players last season. It was Kabore, a loan player.
Kabore is. I think is he gone to Benfica or somewhere like that?
He's in Man City, didn't he, Kabore?
Yes, Kabore was with Man City, and then we had Sambi Lakonga from Arsenal.
Yeah,
and they're just absolute quality players.
And you've lost Barkley, you've lost Andros as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Andros was just an opportunity that he couldn't turn down, and then we lost Chio Ogbeni to Ipswich, which we had him a year, and we got him on a free transfer, and we got 8 million for him. So Luton
have it's not just Luton have changed. They've lost. You've got 5 players straight, 6 players that you're talking about of losing straight away, and then obviously the captain as well. He's not played at all this season, so that's another player. So Luton they've got a different squad going into this season. I firmly had Luton going up. I really did. And to me, I'm just like, what? The first game of the season, because I do the predictions league on the Leeds channel. And obviously doing the predictions league, it's all championship predictions. And I don't know how many times I've predicted Luton to win and a scoreline to win. And they've been turned over. And I'm like, what? What's going on with Luton? But, I'd like to see for what they did last year and for where they've come from and for what Rob did from last year and that, I would like Luton to do well. And I don't know. I mean, as I said, I don't think Luton this year. I mean, I've only seen highlights. I haven't seen many of the live games on Sky Sports. But from the highlights I've seen and from what I read, it appears that they're not as fighting for each other like they were last year. You haven't got that team collective effort going forwards and defending. And tighten up on that. And I'm sure that Luton will turn the corner. Are you at home tomorrow to Watford?
Yeah. I mean, some of the performances have been really disjointed, and I think one of the things from me is we don't work the opposition keeper enough. So once again, we've got more possession than we had last season. It was like 20-30% possession, and like you said, we were just fighting as a team. We were just hard to beat, and we'd stay in games even with 30% possession. And this year we've got more possession, more of the onus is on us. But we just seem to be overrunning midfield. I mean, Plymouth was the perfect example. We lose it in their box, and then like a minute later it's in the back of the net at the other end. And we just seem disjointed at the moment. But like I said, we just got to get a win somehow. I mean, any win tomorrow would just be, and that might kickstart our season. And if you look at the fixtures we've had, it wasn't a bad start to the season. We think we've got West Brom, Sunderland, Watford. We've got difficult games coming up. But Leeds,
Leeds
yeah.
still to come as well. But can I say that when we played you at Kenilworth Road last year and we beat you 1-0, I remember because I play football 3 times a week, and on a Wednesday there's a Luton chap that plays with us on a Wednesday, and I remember saying to him after we'd beat you 1-0, I remember saying to him that the front three you had that day were absolutely frightening for pace. They were the quickest 3 that we had faced all season. They were rapid, all 3 that you had playing up front that day. I think Carlton, was it Carlton that played up front as a 9?
Yes. So
Right.
Carlton would have played at front with Adebayo, and the funny thing about that game is we should have been about 3 down inside the first 10 minutes.
But you stayed in the game. But I remember the pace that the 3 forwards had was absolutely frightening. And I remember commenting to my mate who plays on a Wednesday, who's a Luton fan, said to him, "Cool, your front 3, you ain't got no problems this year. Your front 3 will get goals." They were rapid. They were so quick. They were really, really pacey.
Yeah, and like I said, we're just it's basically like errors that we're making. I mean, like QPR was 1-0 up, and then within 2 crazy minutes we're losing, and I think at the moment you can just tell the confidence is just drained out of them. The low on confidence, and 2-0 up against Oxford, like playing some of the best football this season, and then the second half was the complete opposite, and we're grateful to get a draw down to 10 men.
Well, just quickly before, there's one other little thing I want to touch on with you. But obviously tomorrow's a big game, obviously for the fans, but obviously for this man as well, because it's his former employers, Watford, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, can he turn it around? Is he the man to stay in the hot seat, or is it time that maybe Luton maybe make the change in the dugout? I mean, what's your views on that, Mark?
There's a lot of fans that think it's time to change, and that and a lot of it is the football that we're watching. A lot of it is it's a hard watch, and we're struggling, and we're not. Yeah, they're just it's just like a hard watch. Rob likes his 5 at the back, 3 centre halves, and with his 2 wing backs. But I think a lot of us watching it have seen that if you go for 4 at the back and just get more solid in the middle. I mean, another player that we've signed is Tom Kraus from Germany. He's a German under-21 player, and he's just going. And it's a loan signing. They always say don't fall in love with loan players. Well, he's going to be another one that he just looks a great player. But once again, he's got to get up to speed. Him and Nakamba as a bank of 2 will just give us more solidity in the middle. So I think a lot of people are frustrated that they like to see 4 at the back, but a lot of people would like us to change the manager, but I'm definitely not in that camp. I think we gave him a 4-year contract in the summer. It might be what that lot down the road do, but we don't change a manager after 8 games, give him a 4-year contract and think, oh yeah, this isn't working. I mean, last year really was a free hit. No one was going to judge on last season, but I just think he did get us up into the Premier League, and I mean, obviously he's judged on results and literally obviously you think what he's been through, and interestingly, he gave an interview about just the whole experience of what he had to cope with the Tom Lockyer situation, and sort of took a lot of that on his shoulders. And yeah, you can't wish to meet a nicer guy, but it is the results business. And I just think, if we're in the same position after Christmas, then okay, but I just think he deserves time to turn it around. I think he will turn it around. I think Victor Moses was a great signing, and you look at some players, you just think, yeah, you are class, and you can tell you've played on a higher level and a higher standard. And I think there's a lot of good to see out of Victor Moses. Tom Kraus will be a great addition, and I think he deserves the chance to turn it around, and I'm definitely 100% in the camp that I just think give him a 4-year contract, 8 years. I mean, I'm just wondering what. Obviously, I respect everyone's opinion, that everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I just think what will it achieve changing the manager after 8 games? I think some people forget it's a 46-game season. The Championship, as you know, is brutal for like a long season. And I actually think if we were like mid-table at Christmas, then there's still so much you can. I mean, look what Forest did that season. They were bottom and then they got promoted. So it's a long season. Yes, the results have been poor. The performances have left us scratching our head at times. But you look at the squad, we've got a decent squad. I mean, Alfie Doherty was a great player to get to re-sign a new long-term contract. So I think we can turn it around. But the injuries are just like a worry that we haven't solved the problem of having fit defenders out for the whole season. And I mean, Thomas Kaminski has been our player of the season, and he's saved us. He saved us a lot last year, and he's saved us this year. So, but no, I think he can turn it around, and I back him to turn it around. And but tomorrow's massive, because I worry that if it goes wrong tomorrow, the atmosphere could turn, and that's what Watford are relying on. But no, I back him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's been a great insight into, obviously, your feelings about how the season's started, and obviously in terms of the manager. But just before we let you go, I just want to ask you about something that's quite exciting for the future for Luton, and that's the stadium. So how is the planning and all that coming along for the new stadium? Because I'm a massive fan of Kenilworth Road. I mean, I've been there several times, and those kind of stadiums now they're dying out, aren't they?
Yeah.
I used to be a fan of Griffin Park as well. I've been to Brentford quite a few times, and I'm a fan of these old stadiums. But this is exciting. I mean, for you,
it just looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? I mean, it's so basically. I mean, we could have built a stadium a lot cheaper a long time ago, out of town. But Luton, as with other clubs, it's forefront of the community, and it's an integral part of the community. And we're building it on a power station, which brings with it its own challenges. And obviously the plans were going through during COVID, and there's obviously been a lot of red tape that we've had to go through. But it's happening, and it's coming. And so basically, I think initially it was going to be a 16,000 seat stadium. And obviously, with getting to the Premier League and the extra money, they've then changed the plan. So it's now going to be a 25,000 seater stadium. And it's not just about the stadium, it's everything that's going on in and around the town. I mean, you couldn't get any more central in the town with what it's doing for the town, rejuvenating the town, the restaurants, the bars, everything it's going to do. And obviously it won't just be a football stadium, it will be the forefront of what's going on for the community. And I think 2020 and what they've done to get something looking like this. And obviously you get a lot of grounds that are built, that a lot of them are quite soulless, and as you know, it's very difficult to sort of recreate that atmosphere from Kenilworth Road. I mean, I'm just like, everyone's excited about it, but obviously it's going to be really emotional. I mean, Kenilworth Road is my second home. It's been going for over 40 years, and it's going to be emotional. But I think what this will do for the club in terms of the revenue and just like everything else, it's just you look at the drawings and like the pictures of it, and it just looks absolutely impressive, really. And I just think it's an exciting time for the club, and that's another reason why it's not promotion or it has to. It's not like we have to get promoted this year and we have to stay in the Premier League. What it's all about is like the long-term future for the football club and for the community. And like I've said before, like listening to the guys from Reading, it's just heartbreaking what they're going through, having to risk losing their club. And we're so grateful that we've got people that make all the right decisions with the best interest for the club and for the community, and they're not going to do anything that risks that. So we feel lucky, and if we don't get promoted this year, yeah, we'd all like to, but it's not the end of the world. We're a stable, secure club, and obviously we'd love Premier League football in the new stadium, but that's 2-3 years away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been great to hear from you tonight, Mark, on obviously the season and about this new stadium. Craig's just reminded me about your fundraising and your cycling. Do you want to just give yourself a shout out about the fundraising and the cycling you've done?
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you a brief, so 3 years ago, I was really in a dark place with my mental health, and I decided to cycle to all the away games, 21, 22, thinking it can't be that interesting. And honestly, how like so many people and just got behind it. Off the back of that, I then thought, I'll just cycle to every ground in the country, like 5 leagues, 116 grounds, 5 weeks, which nearly broke me, but I survived it. And that was it. I'd done every ground. That was it. And then we got promoted to the Premier League, and someone says, and one of the players says, you got to do the Premier League. It's like, so I did the Premier League last year, and once again, it was just incredible. I mean, I've raised about £38,000 the last 3 years for various charities. So supporting homeless charities like a local hospice, but obviously for myself with my own struggles with mental health. It's as much about raising awareness for these charities as it is for raising the money, and the money is just staggering in itself, but just to be able to sort of help with that. And so yeah, I'm having a season like normal fans, going on trains and coaches and having a beer. But so, and the other thing I've done is, so I wrote a book about my first year, and there's a new book coming out in December, which is called The Hatters, Hills and Heroes. And obviously a big part of the book is the whole Tom Lockyer story, the Bournemouth experience. Yeah. And it's really just talking about the last 2 years. And I mean, the football club have just been absolutely incredible how they've supported me. And it's just been, and as you guys were, I mean, basically what you guys did and the football club did, and how you sort of like supported the club and Tom. And so you guys are quite the story of Bournemouth and what happened to Tom is quite a big part of the book, which I've shared. I mean, I always sort of, obviously now we know Tom's good, I always joke with Tom, he made me cycle to Bournemouth twice.
Yeah, of course you could have done, yeah.
And when I see him, we do have a joke about that. But no, I mean, just I'd never imagined 3 years ago that it had just raised the profile and raised so much money for so many great causes. And yeah, it's just last 3 years have been incredible, and I literally can't thank everyone enough. And I'd never have like some of the things I didn't expect was the friendship I made, the people I've met, and it's just been an incredible 3 years. So and obviously I've conversations with Craig, and I've done a few interviews, and it's just it's been a great experience.
Yeah, no, it's inspirational, Mark. It's great to hear, obviously, all the good you've done for the charities and everything like that. So Big up for Luton. Let's hope you guys can turn it around. Let's hope you get the result tomorrow against Watford. And take care of yourself. And hopefully we'll get you on again sometime soon when you're having a promotion party back to the Premier League.
Oh, and funny enough, I was interested to see your big debate about what was the best comeback, us or Everton.
Yes, we did do that. Yeah, we did cover that recently, and
I did have a wry smile about that and think, flashback memories of like how could it be? But no, it's but thank you for having me on.
It's been a pleasure.
It's just really nice to speak to you, and I mean what you guys did for the football club and for Tom and everything else, it will never be forgotten. And I think there's a bond there from what happened, and so just a thank you to all the Bournemouth fans and everyone connected with the club. It will always be remembered.
Yeah, no, it definitely will be, and it's all good to hear that Tom's doing well, and good luck for the season, and hopefully we'll get to speak to you soon, Mark.
Great, thanks very much. Good chat to
Mark.
you.
Thank you, Mark.
Cheers, Mark.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so on to the next one very quickly. We'll get this one covered off, which is the Shrimps. Now, I don't know how much. I know Ryan's pretty knowledgeable on this. Ryan, did you want to take the lead on this one?
I mean, I can do it.
It's all going wrong. Where is it? There it is. Did you want to go through this one, or do you want me to go through?
Yeah, but I mean, we can go through. Yeah, have we got more slides for this one? Or I can't remember.
Just a bit on the ownership, obviously the Bond Group investments. So basically, Morecambe have also had a bit of a issue with their ownership. Bond investments. They've been trying to sell the club since September 2022, but no deal's been concluded. The club's boards of directors have urged them to sell the club, and they have actually warned that there will be a disaster if they didn't. The board has also said they had no confidence in the ownership. The club's been deducted points, which we know that always penalises the fans directly more than probably the ownership normally. They've been deducted 3 points to fail to pay their players on time. The ownership have been fined £10,000 and they've got a suspended £20,000 fine. They're also operating under a transfer embargo, so things aren't very good at Morecambe as well. They've got player discontent there. The club has forced the captain has described the club, the running of the club as a shambles, and there's been a lot of fan abuse towards the ownership. Basically, now the EFL must approve any prospective new owner of the club or of a club. The process obviously involves submitting future financial information to demonstrate how the club will be operated and where the funds for the club will come from. So they're in a right little pickle up in Morecambe with this. The club's actually called for the directors to sell up back in May of this year. But nothing seems to have materialised. So basically, we were hoping to have a Morecambe fan on with us this evening, but unfortunately, they couldn't be with us. Hoppy is the channel. I've just added that to the chat. Basically, he sent us a video just to give us a perspective on the fans' thoughts of what's going on at Morecambe. So this is Hoppy, and he's going to give us some more information on the stuff that's going on at Morecambe.
Good evening, lads. Thank you for having me on to talk about Morecambe's ownership. It's been pretty shoddy so far, but I prepared a few words, so I'll talk to you about Morecambe's ownership. Make sure you also subscribe to these guys. The live show's been brilliant so far. Make sure you subscribe. And Yeah, make sure you subscribe to me, Hopey. So pretty much, the club has now been up for sale for more than 2 years, and it's been a frustratingly slow rate of progress. The saga pretty much started to breed a feeling of stagnation around the club, despite there being a lot of good staff in place at Morecambe. It appeared Bond Group initially spent a lot of time focused on pushing through a deal from a fellow called Sarjot Johal, who in the end did not submit the required information to complete the EFL's fit and proper test, as far as we're aware. But after this, it just was radio silent, because updates from Bond Group were incredibly scarce. Didn't hear a thing from Bond Group, and towards the end of last season there were issues with late payments which led to an embargo and a lot of uncertainty which severely hampered pre-season prep. So Derek and the lads were just not prepared for the season at all, unfortunately. Then this June-July, the Shrimps Trust, which I am very, very glad to be a part of, and who are trying to push through everything that's going on with Morecambe at the minute, we contacted a party who bid in November 2023, which the trust felt was more than fair, but it was turned down by Bond Group, and to be honest, we remain really unsure as to why the bid was turned down and why the party was turned down. But unfortunately, this is where we are. We remain really hugely frustrated with the lack of information and apparent lack of progress from the sale and what's going on from Bond Group and Jason Whittingham himself, because we've not had much progress at all, or promises that something's going to happen, but we never get anything further. Like I say, promises of more concrete movement and the sale have been made by Bond Group, but just haven't been fulfilled yet, which is really, really frustrating for us Morecambe fans. Despite having a very, very good board, brilliant staff members, things have just started to stagnate, and the uncertainty over the ownership has meant we've got very little scope for forward planning. So Derek can't plan for January, and he's come out and said previously, what does January mean to me? We are skinned, absolutely skinned, and that is the fault of the owner. But unfortunately, we are in this situation where we are now, and I can't really see us moving forward unless a new buyer or a new owner is put in place. But we can only do that if a suitable bidder comes forward and an offer is accepted and we pass the EFL test. Considering none of that has happened at the minute, we've not had anything concrete or official, but we can just assume that obviously something's going on there, but we're not being told. But thank you guys for having me on. The ownership situation is really frustrating, and all of us want to see it come to an end soon. Thank you very much for asking me to come on. Up the Shrimps. Hope Reading can get sorted as well, because they are in a very similar boat to us, and it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. But up the Shrimps. Thanks guys for having me. Make sure you subscribe to me and to you guys. Thank you.
So yeah, that's Hoppy there. So please put the link in the chat there. So please everyone check his channel out, give him a sub if you can. But we're going to follow on with Morecambe. We're going to catch up with Hoppy hopefully later on in the season to see how Morecambe are getting on with their ownership, or if we do get any news between now and then. But just briefly before we go on to Spurs, obviously the news tonight about Inverness. Obviously, the directors have signed a notice of intention to appoint administrators, which has been filed at the court, has taken place. And it looks like by early next week that administrators are going to be appointed. So hopefully, again, another club that's in a bit of an issue, and hopefully for them, things will get sorted as soon as they can. So, but yeah, now we're going to go on to Spurs and have a look at a certain Mr. Solanke's impact that he's had at Spurs. I think both you guys might be on mute. I'm not too sure. It looks like you are from here. I think that might be because the video played. Yeah, you're on mute, Ryan, mate. You're on mute. That's it. Jose, I mean, obviously, I know a lot about Dom. Obviously, I've had the privilege of watching him for a fair few seasons. You know, I love the guy. You've taken away our main goal threat, and but you know the impact he's having at Spurs. You know, what do yourself and fellow Spurs fans think of his impact so far this season?
I liked Solanke when he played at Bournemouth. I've seen Solanke from when he was under 17s England, So I've seen him at Chelsea, Liverpool. You know, people I think have been harsh on Solanke. Even when he went to Bournemouth, I thought people were harsh. I'm not saying Bournemouth were harsh, but others were harsh. He's come to us, and I still think others are harsh on him as well.
Yeah.
People don't recognise that he came through the fabled at the time Chelsea Academy, where they get a tonnage of players, as I called it, used to come through. He weren't going to find his way. He had people in front of him. He was a youngster. Liverpool saw his potential and Liverpool decided to buy him. He was never going to get starts at Chelsea. Liverpool bought him on potential. He went and he learned. So he was learning at Chelsea from some of the best. He went to Liverpool and he weren't going to get into side. He learned from some of the best at Liverpool. And then he got the move to Bournemouth, found his feet at Bournemouth. People will turn around and say to me, or have said to me in the past, one season wonder. He's only done it once in the Premiership, and he had one season. That was last season. No, he scored goals. He scored goals in the Championship. He scored goals everywhere he's gone. So, yeah, but we could have gone out and we could have bought Gyökeres. What, spend 80 million on Gyökeres, who did exactly the same as what you're telling me about Solanke. He had one season at Coventry City, and then he's gone to Portugal. Solanke did it for Bournemouth in the Prem. So, you know, the arguments for me don't stack up. If you want to measure apples for apples, let's measure apples for apples and not apples for pears. So, for me personally, I'm not going to talk about the whole fan base because all fans are different. But the majority of fans that I speak to are really happy with Dominic Solanke. Like I said, I watched him last season, and I've seen him play before last season. And I think Solanke's a very, very good player, and he's very pivotal into the way and the style that we play. So the only game that I've been this season so far is I went to the Everton game, and Solanke was injured. Second game of the season, and I went to the stadium, and he was injured. He was out. But the pressing that we did from the front was done by Sonny, and he made Pickford make a mistake on closing down, and Sonny ended up getting 2 goals. But then Solanke then came back in after that. And when watching Solanke up against Brentford, the pressing from the front is Solanke. Solanke's a spearhead for that. Arsenal, we lost 1-0, but Solanke was a spearhead. I saw Solanke in the first half absolutely murder Saliba. Balls were being fired at all angles to Dom. So people are firing into his chest and that, and he was holding off Saliba, trapping the ball on his chest, bringing it under control, and then laying it off and playing players off. The guy has got skills. He's a very good player. And some people underrate him. I didn't, because I knew what we were getting. And I look at it and I think to myself, so before him, we had Richarlison. Now, you ping a ball at Richarlison and you're lucky that if he traps a bag of sand, right? But with Solanke, you can you fire at him and pass it to him any way. Solanke can trap it with left, can trap it with right, can trap it with his thigh, trap it with his chest. Solanke can bring a ball under control like that, and he's really, really impressive. Now, obviously, playing with you guys at Bournemouth, he'd already built playing patterns, relationships with the players, and that's basically what he's got to now do at Tottenham. He's only played 6 games, and in them 6 games we haven't had a settled front three. We've had players out with injuries. Sonny's gone out, Odebert's gone out, Solanke's played with Johnson, Solanke's played with Werner, he's played with Son, he's played with Odebert. So he's not played with all of them. You've got to learn each other's playing styles and passing patterns and stuff like that. It will come. There's another channel that there was a chatter, someone in the chat on another channel, and he was a regular of this other channel, and he's not a Tottenham supporter, and he turned around and he said, Solanke's not going to score 15 goals this year. And there's a charity that they're running on this channel, and he bet 500 quid to whoever would take it that Solanke wouldn't get 15 goals this season. Now, I straight away turned around and said, he'll get 15 by Christmas, because I'm including Europa League and I'm including the Carabao Cup. So, because he never specified it'd be just the league, he said 15 goals. So I said he'll get them by Christmas, and he's on what 2-3 goals now, and I fully expect Solanke to carry on scoring goals as he builds up the relationships with other players. I think he will go from strength to strength. You've got a couple of people in. I told people I was coming on, so you've had a few people come on here.
Yeah.
We've actually got 2 comments down the bottom of people that Tottenham supporters on what they think of him. They've already got it down there. So it's not just my thoughts. You've got a couple of supporters there as well.
So yeah, can see him flourish at Spurs, fitted in well, hard worker. I mean, yeah, in terms of his work rate, I loved him at Bournemouth. I mean, he's also good at dropping in and creating play as well by playing a little bit deeper. He can ping a pass. You know, he's one of those that, you know, he is a number 9, but he's also got more to his game than just being a number 9. And he's an asset. He's an absolute asset. And yeah, when he first come to Bournemouth, you know, people, and you're right, Jose, by saying, you know, people kind of criticised him a bit. But when he come to Bournemouth, he did have the likes of Wilson, King ahead of him that were already established. And obviously when they moved on is when he came in and was able to make his impact and develop and flourish into the player he is now. And I'm just a bit disappointed he didn't get more minutes for England. That's a different subject for Mr. Carsley.
But the thing is, right, is when I'm saying it's not you Cherry fans and it's not us Spurs fans, but fans from other clubs that are dismissing Solanke. So when he went to Bournemouth, it wasn't you and your fan base and your club. It was other clubs that was dismissing Solanke. Like, what are you going to bought him for? Blah 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 blah. And it's the same as Tottenham. It's here at Tottenham. It's not the fans for Tottenham fans that are saying it. It's other fans that are saying Solanke 65 million really. And you know, at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's going to be proven to be shrewd money spent. Because he can play any system. It's not just the way that Ange plays. Ange says he's the perfect player for him in what he wants the player to do as a spearhead. However, like you said, he's got many strings to his bow, and you know he will be a very, very good player for Tottenham for years to come. Stays injury free, which he normally does, and that's when we lost him for the second game of the season. I was like, bloody hell, that's the Tottenham curse again. Bloody hell, we get players and they end up on the injury table. But no, he's only missed that one game. God bless, and he's back now. So,
yeah, I mean, this comment, I mean, spot on. Good footballing brain, very creative. It's something obviously you need badly at Spurs, but I mean, he is very creative, great footballing brain. You know, our loss is obviously Spurs' gain. Craig's piping up with something. We really miss him, Jose. It's not because Eva Nielsen is struggling, but it's how he drops back, like I was saying, brings other players in and sets up to score. He's not a greedy striker. He is quality. I mean, yeah, he does do that. He does bring other players into the fold as well.
But being Spanish, I'm going to tell you now, Craig, don't fear. You've got a top manager in Ilola. Right, he's a top boy. You know, like he's a top boy. He's a very, very good strategist as well, and a very good coach. And he makes players better players. He's got a proven track record of this. Evan Nilsson has been bought for a reason, and when he played out in Portugal, another one. He looked really good in Portugal and that. But the same as Solanke coming to us, the same as Dom coming to us, you got to learn and build your partnerships and learn the playing patterns and the playing styles. There's a lot. You're not just going to hit the ground running like that bush straight away. You've got to create them partnerships. You've got to create them friendships, and this will come. Soon as that's come, Evan Nilsson, I have no doubt, will start scoring goals for the Cherries as well. No doubt whatsoever.
I think you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. It's still part of his settling in process. And like you say, it's exactly the same for him at Bournemouth as it is for Dom at Spurs, obviously.
I think we'll be coming and knocking on your door next season. Or maybe we might test the waters in January, but I reckon in the summer we'll test the waters for definite for Semenyo.
Don't destroy me now, for God's sake.
Semenyo's on fire, and he has been
phenomenal player. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, he is at the moment. He's on everyone's radar, isn't he? You can see why. You know, he's great out wide. He's great at teasing the defender, getting round the defender. He likes to get a decent ball into the box. If he's on the edge of that box, you know he's going to get a shot on target.
What's the player's name? The other one you got Outra.
Dongo Atara.
That's it. That's him. He's another one. He's another. See, I like Justin Kluivert. I think Justin Kluivert's a really good player, and you've got a lot of players that play in these behind the forward and the three behind the forward.
Yeah, that three.
You've got a fair few players, and you know Bournemouth are looking good. He's cooking well. You got the youngster in midfield who you bought, the Tottenham supporter who you bought from the Championship, who's a really good player.
Oh, Alex Scott.
Alex Scott. You got
Yeah.
Zabani. He's a top centre half. Is it
Yes.
you guys that have bought Dean Hussein?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
He is a top mate. He is a top balling
Yeah.
centre half. You got some. Listen, Bournemouth are punching, mate. Trust me, Bournemouth are punching.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Don't remind me. I know we are. It definitely beats watching Accrington Stanley on a Tuesday night in League Two in the pouring rain, I must admit. But this one, Jose, is an interesting one. Now, I've looked a bit in the press. Obviously, I'm sure it's probably all paper talk, but obviously you got Mr. Levy there, who's obviously, a good businessman, but hasn't really produced for Tottenham on the field, is he, in terms of success? And then you've got Amanda there, who's looking at getting involved, who sort of kind of turned Newcastle around. I mean, is there any truth in this? Do you think this is something that might happen?
Whether it happens with Amanda Staveley or others, right? My personal opinion, right, is that Joe Lewis, although he's passed on his parts of the club to his family members, to his kids or whatever, I think that the kids don't want much of Tottenham. They'd rather sell chunks of Tottenham off or whatever. Levy, however, doesn't want it. Levy knows he's on the golden goose, and Levy will stay there forever and a day. I don't think he's the unremovable object is Daniel Levy. Amanda Staveley went to Newcastle, and there was a plan, and there was a reason for her going to Newcastle. And I think going to Newcastle was a lot more to do with football and growing the club and building the club to bring money into Newcastle. But with Tottenham, if Amanda Staveley or whoever is going to invest into Tottenham, it won't be into Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It will be into Tottenham Hotspur Enterprise or whatever they want to call themselves. So what they're going to do, they're gentrifying the whole of the Tottenham area. They're building hotels and everything at the rate of knots. You go into Tottenham, and I've been to the stadium for the first time. I went to the Everton game, and when I went there, some of the places that I used to know I used to go to the lane and that, totally gone, totally different, totally changed. They are gentrifying the area. They're putting a lot of money into the area, but they're lining their own pockets up as well. Big time. They might be offering Haringey Council X, Y, and Z, but they're lining their pockets. And for me, with Staveley, whether it's her or anyone else, the investment that they're going to make will be towards the portfolio, if you like, of other things. So it'll be to do with the hotels. It'll be to do with whatever they're building in the background. It will be because Tottenham have got links with the NFL. It'll be because Tottenham have got links with Formula One. It's anything other than the football. So if people think that we've got someone coming in investing on the football front, I don't think that's happening. I think it's more to do with they're going to come in, they're prepared to put money in because they're going to get loads of money coming back out from all the other investments and all the other things that Tottenham are going on, which is unfortunate because what you want, and the way I grew up is I grew up supporting Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I would go to White Hart Lane to watch football matches. You go now to the stadium and it's an absolute mad experience when you go there. But when you go there, you go to the club shop to go and buy merchandise, and you go in and you're buying Formula One gear or you're buying NFL stuff, and it's all about how many concerts they can have and all that. So Daniel Levy talks a good game and has done for many years. Says, yeah, we'll invest in the first team, blah 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 blah. Okay. So Brighton went out and spent just over 200 million this summer transfer window. Were you telling me that Tottenham don't rake in more money than Brighton on match days and for everything else? They certainly do, and I can tell you they probably do it about 8, 10, 12 times over on match day revenue alone than what Brighton does. Brighton spent 200 odd million pound, and I look at other clubs on as well, and I just think to myself, where are they getting all their money from? Because we bring all the revenue on the side. Now I know we've got to pay for the stadium, right? But we've got an absolutely sweet deal on the lowest kind of interest rate payment back. I think it's something like 2%. It's absolutely absurd. No one will ever get a deal like this ever. No companies get 2% like what Tottenham got. And at the end of the day, I know we've got to pay the debt off, but You know, at the end of the day, I want to see my club do well. I want to see my club thrive. I want to see Tottenham Hotspur Football Club at the heart of this. You go to any London underground station or any London overground station for that matter, or a bus shelters or on buses, you've got welcome to Tottenham Hotspur. And when you start looking at what's on the brochure, spot the football player. That's all I'm going to say. You can spot everyone else, but spot the football player. So that's my opinion that you've asked me, and I think it's shared by quite a lot of people. And we think the investment is to do with the gentrification of the area, and it's to do with putting in money to get money out quickly, and it ain't got nothing to do with football. Whereas for Newcastle, it was different. It was to do with the football side and to build up the revenue streams for Newcastle, which she did do.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, that's obviously we were slightly discussing it earlier, so it's good to hear Jose's views on that. But I mean, my view was completely different, wasn't it, earlier? I mean, I thought maybe she might go in there and just concentrate on the football side, but obviously not. Yeah, I know you got some quite strong views on it, haven't you?
Yeah, no, for me, I'm on the other side. I think for me, she's clearly coming in to make as much money as she can. She's not interested in the football side, so yeah, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Really, I think. Well, Daniel Levy might be a good businessman, but I think he has really let down the fans massively, who really want to win trophies at Tottenham, and I think it's a case of. From what I've seen, he seems to disregard the fans as not even people, and just takes advantage of them basically. A lot of Tottenham fans want to win trophies, and he's not delivering that. And but yeah, for me, the Staveley situation, she's clearly coming in because, like you say, the things around the stadium that have been developed, she just sees a lot of money that she can make out of it, and I don't see how this is going to impact Spurs positively on the football side of things moving forward.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I understand a little bit more about that now, to be honest. Because, but yeah, I honestly had this vision that maybe it might have been kind of like a Man United thing. She comes in, takes control of the football operations, and Tottenham would have some success. But obviously, that's put me, that shot me down, and obviously, that's not what's going to clearly happen, unfortunately, for Spurs, because really Spurs has got everything, hasn't it? I mean, cracking stadium, a decent playing squad. It's just trophies, isn't it, really, Jose, that you guys are missing, isn't it?
Yeah, but we need a trophy. We need a trophy like 75 years ago. We just need a trophy. I take any trophy at the moment. People say, would you, if you finish 17th and won a cup, would you take it? I take it all day long. Just we need a trophy. We need to. I like to play good football and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I like people that want to play for the badge, want to play for the shirt, want to play for the fans. I want players to find players like that is like hard nowadays because of all the money that's involved. Players are just whores, aren't they? They go to clubs and they just make as much money as they can. I understand why, but it's not something that that I subscribe to. I want players to play for the club, play with a badge. But yeah, we need to have won trophies like yesteryear. We needed trophies long time. But the thing about Man United, what I want to touch on, has the Ineos thing worked out?
Not really, has it?
Well, no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't, because you've seen what they've done with the cutting of the jobs and everything. They're clearly not coming in for the football reasons, and they're putting football second. So I agree, the Ineos thing was all PR rubbish, and it's not going to benefit. It's not. They are not going to take Man United back to the top of the football period for me. So it's pretty clear. So yeah,
with the players that they've bought as well.
Yeah.
And the amount of money they spent on the players that they've bought, I'm just like, really? People were trying to tell me at the start of the season that De Ligt and Mazraoui were great signings. They were great players when they played for Ajax back in 2018 for Ten Hag. But since they left Ajax and they've gone to the respective clubs, Mazraoui, you're lucky if he's played 50% of the games in the last 6 years for Bayern Munich. You got De Ligt. De Ligt didn't play 50% of the games when he went to Bayern, and he never played 50% of the games when he went to Juve. They were both injury prone, and I'm just thinking, so you spent all that money on injury prone players. They've bought Xerxes, which Man United players are saying that they don't need Xerxes. They need a striker. They don't need Xerxes. Xerxes is kind of a luxury type player for them. Anthony, another what was he, 85, 90 million on Anthony?
Right. No, but the thing is with the Anthony deal is that we knew they knew he wasn't worth that much. But the reality is because of the footballs, the people running the football side of things, the delay of that transfer meant that the price inflated massively. He was never worth that. He was worth half of that, if even less than that, even more than half of that. So I think that's the reason why the price was it is. But I agree, money wasted though. Still,
and Onana, when he came from Italy, everyone was telling me that Onana was this big bad goalkeeper. Onana had one good season at Ajax under Ten Hag when they lost to us in the semi-final of the Champions League. That season, Ajax had a really good side. That side has been broken up. Onana went to Italy, and I said, Onana ain't that great, and he's proven it. Onana's been at Man United for 2 seasons now, and he's just every game that Man United play, you think to yourself, the defenders must be shitting themselves. Oh my God. Close your eyes, you don't know what Onana's going to do next, And at the end of the day, I'm just thinking to myself, if Ineos have come in for the footballing reasons to the club to improve the football at the club, I haven't seen any improvement since Ineos have been there, is all I'm going to say. So they may as well have just gone and bought Man United, on a bit like Staveley. You might have just gone in and put the money in to get the revenues up and then just take and go. To me, as I said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you're lucky to get good owners nowadays, the ownerships that used to want football clubs for football clubs and play things and that, they're out the window now. Everyone that buys a football club now wants it for business and business only.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I agree.
That's true. Ange, there's been a few, bits in the press recently. Does he need more time, or is he? I mean, how do you see him doing for the remainder of the season?
Right. So this is the one that divides the fan base.
Right.
And when it divides the fan base, I know of people that didn't rate Ange when we first got him, because he'd come from Celtic and he'd come from the Scottish League, and they'd go out and they'll say to you, the Scottish League is the 14th highest rated league in the world. So it's not in the top 5. What does he know? He doesn't know what he's doing. So straight away, you've got people that didn't want him then, and it doesn't matter what Ange does going forward. They just don't want him. So they're dead against him from the start. And it doesn't matter whether he does well or not. They just don't want him. I am firmly 150% Ange in, right? For me, Ange was given a 4-year contract. The last time any manager was given a contract like that at Tottenham would have been probably Pochettino. Before that, managers didn't get 4-year contracts. They didn't get 3-year contracts. Managers at Tottenham used to get 18 months or get 2 years, and you decide on an extension of a 3rd year for 1 year, right? So there's a 4-year plan, and what I try to say to people in business, and I work for a living, and I'm in business and that, and in business, you have a roadmap, you have a plan that you have. You've got short, mid-term, long-term plans that you're going to implement. So I'm not part of Tottenham, but I would have thought that when they interviewed the chap to bring him in, they've given him a 4-year contract. So they saw something over a roadmap over 4 years. And this is what we're going to do. You're going to be part of this 4 years, and this is what you're going to do this, but we're going to bring this person to do that. This person's going to do that. You're going to be timelines. We want you to be at this stage, or we want you to do this by then, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So for me, why try and get rid of someone who's building something up at the moment? Now, it's good. People use facts when it supports their argument, right? So I've heard people turn around and say, yeah, but Arteta took him the first 3 years he was there, he was 8th, and 5th. Then he got 2nd and 2nd, right? But for 3 years, Arteta changed, got rid of all the old, your Aubameyangs, your Pepes, and your Ozils, and all these players, got rid of it, completely turned the squad round, and has built his own squad. And it took him three and a bit years to get to where he's got to. You've got Jurgen Klopp. When Jurgen Klopp came to Tottenham, I remember beating Liverpool 4-1 at Wembley Stadium. Kane, Ali, Ericsson, and Sonny, we absolutely murdered them. 4-1 we beat them. And I had Dejan Lovren playing at the back. And then as soon as we'd murdered them 4-1, Klopp decided to get rid of certain players and bring in a person called Van Dijk and the person called Alisson to the club. Now, Liverpool started building from there, but it took Liverpool 4 years to win a trophy. And so Klopp was given time. So what's the difference with us? Why are people saying that Ange shouldn't be given time? Ange is in one season and 7 games. Okay, if people are going to use facts against him, they're going to say, yeah, but he's only won 4 games away from home in 14, and he's only done X, Y, and Z. But to me, that's being short-sighted and narrow-minded. At the end of the day, you've got to give if he doesn't improve your club and he doesn't improve the football in that, then you need to look at it. But for now, I'm just like, I'm all behind him. I see what he's trying to do. We're fractions, and I'm going to talk fractions because football's about fine fractions, right? We are certain fine fractions from going out and thumping teams. And I'm talking about thumping them. You can finish it if we can finish our dinner, and this is about where I was talking about playing patterns and knowing each other and stuff like that. Once we start finishing our dinner and Solanke's being fed, mate, we're gonna destroy teams. We'll be out of sight against teams, and I firmly believe that will happen. So I'm 150% behind Ange. But like I said, there's a lot of people in the fan base who weren't with him when he first started, and therefore it doesn't matter whether he does well or not. I think what people get annoyed about Ange is that when Ange does press conferences, there's a lot of fans that will turn around and says he talks too much, he says too much, right? And I feel that sometimes it gets lost in translation what he's trying to say, and he's cryptic in some of the stuff that he says in his press conferences. Ange has made it clear to me from watching his press conferences, because I don't start reading between the lines and doing what other people do and become all negative. Ange, for me, for players that he wants at the club, he wants players that will play for Tottenham, wear the badge, play for the club, and want to prove themselves and be at Tottenham. He hasn't got time for the players that say, yeah, but I've got a deal from somewhere else and my image rights, they're prepared to cover X amount for my image rights and this, that. They're the wrong players to have at your club. If people are only in it for themselves, they're the wrong players to have at your own club. And so therefore, Postecoglou doesn't go for all these sexy people. I mean, there's people, he talked about speaking to a player in the summer, and that player in the summer saying, yeah, but my image rights and the other club's offering me X. At the end of the day, he's like, okay, go to the other club, because I want players that are going to come in, play for what I'm trying to build it, and play for the club. So I understand him, and I give him his props for that. He's not just going to settle for anybody to come and whore themselves at our club. So I'm fully behind him, and I just think he has to be given more time. Not given more time. I just think it's ludicrous that people are saying give him more time. I think people are shooting off the hip at the moment far too early. And I will say that the media don't help. The media don't help it either, because the media sort of like they jump on something, and some people who don't do their own research and will believe anything that's said to them. You can read something in the media and say, yeah, well, he's going then, isn't he? At the end of the day, think about yourself. Step aside from the media, step aside from everything you read on social media and everything, and think about yourself. What is it that you see? And then you might come up with a different opinion to the one that you currently have, because you're being filled by social media.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you say, work in progress. He's got to build his side. He needs time, and managers just don't get given the time, do they? And I must admit, when he got the job, I thought, is that a big step from Celtic to Spurs? But I think he's done an all right job. Obviously, I'm only looking at it from an outsider, but from what I see, okay, the Brighton game wasn't obviously to be 2-0 up and then get picked apart a bit by Brighton, but that can happen to anybody on any day, can't it? Really, in that league. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think he just needs to, be given more time, and I reckon he'll probably be a success at Spurs.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that with Amanda Staveley, because I can see your all will Amanda Staveley's investment and her love for Eddie Howe make the change. Listen, Howe is no better than Postecoglou. Howe comes in. Howe needs players as well.
Yeah, he'd have
at the end of the day. Yeah, but the thing is, Howe got given Isaac, got given the boy Guimaraes. He got given players. They bought players for him. You know, you've got Anthony Gordon, you've got the Harvey Barnes. Players have been bought for Howe, so there's no different to Ange getting players. You know, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's not as if Eddie's gone. Eddie did a different job at Bournemouth because Eddie had to do from what he had within, because you didn't have all the pots of money initially, so he had to coach players, and he'd done a really good job at Bournemouth. He's gone to Newcastle; it's a different job. There's more money in the pot for Newcastle to spend, or there has been. You know, so then he can go out and buy, if you like, supposed better players and stuff like that. Now, to me, what's Howe going to do? And I think it's also undermining Ange. If you know, and again, Amanda Staveley hasn't said this. There's nowhere that this been said. This is just the media putting two and two together and coming up with 17. And you know, it's Howe going to Tottenham, and the amount of people, and I will say Spurs channels, that have clickbaited that for their for their thumbnails to draw people in, because we're signing Eddie Howe. And I'm just like, you know, come on, guys. And but the thing is, people get sucked into it, and this is what I'm saying. People on social media, they need to start. I detach myself from social media. I'm quite good. I'm not. I don't get invested in all this stuff, and I'm quite good. And at the end of that, I think for myself, but not just with football, but with anything in life. I think for myself. I don't follow the trend and follow everything that people are saying. So, and there's always two sides to a story, which is another thing. In the media, you tend to hear one side and one side only. You don't get to hear the other side. So, but yeah, no, Ange doesn't need more time. Ange should be given more time, and I don't know why we're talking about does he need more time. He's still doing what he needs to do at the club. I've seen an improvement in our matches this season compared to last season, and we went unbeaten for the first 10 games, and we've played 7 games. We've played 7 games this season. Been beaten. We've lost 3 in the league already, all by 1 goal. But we're playing better football, and I can see an identity with us now, which I didn't see when we were unbeaten in the first 10 games last year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, totally agree. How do you rate the start to the season?
I think we've been playing. I think we haven't got the results that we did. We haven't got the points that we deserve. I think we murdered Newcastle. We should have been 4-0 up at half time against Newcastle. Sorry, against Leicester. Sorry, Leicester. Newcastle as well. We played Newcastle off the park. Newcastle just sat in. Newcastle looked like the away team. We were attacking Newcastle from all angles, and we should have got a result out of that game. The Arsenal game, we weren't as we weren't dominant with the ball in that, but it was like a fag paper. It was just one error. They got the goal. We had a couple of chances before they scored. We didn't take them. They ended up winning that 1-0. And then the Brighton loss. The Brighton loss is like really hard one to take, because as fans, and you're fans of your clubs as well, nobody likes losing. And sometimes it's the manner that you lose in that grates on you after you've lost the game. And obviously, we've also had the international break. If I was at the ground, I would have tried to rip all their heads off for what they did in the second half, because we should have been out of sight anyway. We were only 2-0 up half time. We should have been out of sight. It should have been sayonara, gone, make 5 substitutions at half time in the 45th minute, give other players a chance to play. You're out of sight. You're 4-5-0 up at Brighton. And in the second half, I really don't know what happened. I mean, on my channel, I turned around and said, we had Lasagna Gate with West Ham a few years ago. And I was just thinking to myself, did they all drink from the same mug of tea or something? What was it that they all had that made them completely come out and be different individuals in the second half to the first half? It's as if that they were all, I don't know, if they were in a trance. They didn't know each other. They didn't know each other's name. It's like they'd met each other for the first time and didn't know what to do with each other. And so that kind of felt really bad for us as a fan base, being 2-0 up, playing really good football, and ending up losing that game 3-2. And then also as well, it's not, for me, it's on the players, more on the players. And for me, when Brighton scored their first goal after 2 minutes in the second half, they then scored their next goal 10 minutes later. For me, Brighton became dominant as soon as they scored their first goal. And within 5 minutes, I would have made changes then. I wouldn't have left it for them to score their goal. I would have made changes then myself, but then I don't get paid the big bucks, because it was all Brighton. And then when Brighton got to 2-2, it was still all Brighton, and then they scored 5 minutes later to make it 3-2. And then by the time you make your subs, you unload your bench, you're 3-2 down. We'd lost the game. Do you know what I mean? So, but it does grate on you because it's the manner you lose in, and it hurts, and it does hurt. Well, it hurts the fans. I hope it hurts the players, and that they are told as such. But it does hurt us fans, all fans, that is, when you lose. But there's ways of losing. If you'd lost and you played out your skin and stuff like that, you take it on the chin, don't you? God, toss of a coin, we were unlucky today. But there was no unlucky at Brighton in the second half. Brighton were lucky in the first half. We were very lucky in the second half. It wasn't more than what it actually was.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I did watch the second half, and yeah, I would agree with you there. Spurs were lucky not to, concede some more there. But overall,
sorry, with the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, I'll tell you now, the Carabao Cup, I turned around and we were lucky against Coventry. Oh my God, that was the worst Tottenham performance that I'd seen. That I can't remember the last time Tottenham played that badly, and I've been supporting the club for nearly 50 years, and it's I can't remember the last time we played as bad. It was probably under Christian Gross or someone like that.
yeah,
I couldn't tell you the exact game. And
Yeah.
look, we got lucky, right? We got lucky in that game. How we're through, I don't care. I said on my stream, we're through to the next round. We're in the next round. We're in the hat for the next round, and I don't care as long as we're there. There's a lot of variables in winning the trophy, and all we need is home ties all the way through. Just get drawn at home, and I don't care if it's Manchester City. That was the first words that come out of my mouth. And who did we draw? Man City. So we've got Man City. So yeah, I think we've got to take it serious against Man City.
Yeah.
I don't think Pep's got the Carabao Cup as his first target this year. So we might see some of the youngsters, or we might see him put some of the players that haven't played as much. But Man City has filled three sides out anyway, so it's going to be a tough game for us. But we're at home. The Europa League, we got AZ Alkmaar on Thursday. I fully expect us to beat AZ Alkmaar. And for me, what I've said on my shows is just get the 3 points. I don't care if we win 1-0. Just get 3 points in the bag. Qualify in the top 8 of the Europa League so you don't have to play the extra 2 games. Because I feel that our squad's thin still. I think that we haven't got a big enough squad. And for me, we could do without having the extra games. So just get 3 points on the board, even if it's 1-0, qualify in the top 8, and then you can worry about beefing up your squad in January. And that's for the Emirates FA Cup. Again, it's another trophy like all the others. There's a lot of variables. It depends on players that you've got fit, on selections that you make, what players' mentalities are like on the day of the game, what the weather's like, who the referee is. Whether you're home or away, there's so many variables to take. But, I'd like to think, but so would you two boys, because you two in the FA Cup as well. We all start with the FA Cup. Whatever round we start in, we all start with the FA Cup wanting to win it. And I'm no different to you guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's me and Ryan were talking about it the other day, the magic of the cup, and it's something that I would love to see at Bournemouth. Definitely a cup run. But yeah, so do you see, just briefly, just finish up on Spurs very quickly, do you see a trophy in the bag this season? I'm
going to have to say yes, because we crave it. But I say this every year.
Yeah.
Every year, Matt, I say every year, yeah, our name's on the cup, we're going to win a cup. Now, years ago, I remember when I was younger, because I'm older than both of you guys, and I remember when I was younger, I used to say, yeah, the name's on the cup, and invariably it was, we'd win a trophy. But then that's all since a young Mr. Levy come along, that's completely dried up. One trophy in 25 years under him. Or no, yeah, it's one, yeah, because we won the League Cup in 99, but that's before he came along. So yeah, it's one trophy in 20 odd years. That's not good enough. It's not only is it not good enough, but when you look at other teams around you, and then you look at Leicester, who beat us to the title, and Leicester have won an FA Cup as well. Pompey have won an FA Cup as well since Levy's been there, and the list goes on. There's other teams that have won as well, and they've only won the one trophy, but that's one trophy more than what we've won. And this is teams that you would say for the size of club, probably people are going to say that they're smaller than Tottenham, and they've gone and done it. So at the end of the day, it's shocking the returns we've had, but I'm going to say yes, we can win a trophy. Like I said, there's a lot of luck, there's a lot of variables, but I'm going to say yes. The one that I want to win is the Europa League, because the Europa League gets you into the Champions League.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd take 17th now if we win a trophy, and that could be the Carabao Cup. I don't care. A trophy in 17th, I take that all day to the bank.
That's fair dues. That's fair dues. Well, just briefly, very quickly before we go, we've got the fixtures for this weekend to take a quick look at. Ryan, do you want to just highlight for League 2, 1 and the Championship your games of the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Port Vale versus Fleetwood is going to be an interesting one. Certainly, Port Vale, currently at the top of League 2 at the moment. Fleetwood are kind of around 10th at the moment, but it's very tight in the league. It's very tight in League 2 at the moment, so they're certainly usually up and around there, the playoff position. So for me, I think that game definitely has to be highlighted as a game to look out for. Another game, Doncaster as well, who will be taking on
Swindon Town.
Yeah, so Doncaster obviously second, so they're definitely that game. Notts County third, so Notts County as well. I think that'll be an interesting game. So yeah, there's a few for you there. League 1. Oh yeah, where we are. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the mighty Huddersfield. There they are.
Yeah, there we are. No, for me, I think certainly obviously Birmingham playing Birmingham game definitely against Lincoln, who Lincoln have done very well, by the way, so far, currently in 5th place at the moment, and yeah, they're doing very well, so that'll be a really good game for me. I'm going to be biased and say Huddersfield game as well. We've got to do that, haven't we? And what else? Mansfield obviously doing well at the moment. I think Charlton Stockport's the one to look out for. 2 teams really doing well so far and wanting to be in them player positions. So yeah, there's them for you there. And the Championship, of course, which I know very well, but unfortunately not there anymore. Well, Sunderland for me obviously currently lead the way, so definitely the Sunderland game.
Sunday at 3:00. That one, I believe.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not very good at this, am I? Sheffield Wednesday, Burnley. One to look out for. Burnley, of course, doing well. Watford v Luton, I think, is going to be a good game. I think Watford have started the season very well. They're in 6th place at the moment, so it won't be easy for Luton. But yeah, there's a few games for you. I'm not really good at this. I need to be better prepared next time for this. Anyway, there we are. On the Premier League.
I'm going to pick one here. The most important one tomorrow is Bournemouth beating Arsenal at 5:30. But other than that, I'm not really bothered about the rest of them.
And how do you see that game going, Matt?
It's going to be a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I've been on Arsenal Fan TV this week. I've been on Inside Gooners on TalkSport this week, and I've said to them that the game is going to be very, very tricky. I think if Arsenal turn up and underestimate us, I think we can get something out of it. But they can punish us from all across the field. We play a very similar game in terms of the high press. So there's going to be goals in it. I mean, I've gone with 2-2 because I just can't not back my boys. But yeah, realistically, when you put your footballing brain on, it's going to be a very tough game for Bournemouth. But I definitely.
How do you line up? How do you line up? Do you play 4-3-3?
We play 4 across the back.
Yeah.
Then you got the 2 in the midfield.
What, 2 holders?
Yeah, 2 holders in Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie.
Yeah.
Then you've got 3 attacking. So you've got you'll have a winger, man in behind the striker, and another winger.
So you've got 3 beyond Evan Nilsson, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then Evan Nilsson will lead the line. I'm assuming he will lead the line tomorrow. So really, I mean, it's
And are your two centre halves tomorrow going to be Zabani and Hussein?
no.
They're
Well,
not.
I don't think so. I'd imagine it's going to be Marcus Nesse.
Okay.
But Housen, is it, how do you pronounce it? I pronounce it Housen, but I get corrected all the time when I
Yeah,
pronounce
I
it.
don't know. I'm going to say Hussein because his dad used to play for Liverpool.
Okay. Oh,
So
okay.
Hussein used to play for Liverpool, but for some reason, this guy's Spanish international. So I don't know whether he was born in Spain, but he's a Spanish international now.
No, I think he was born in Denmark, and he's played for Denmark at certain levels, and now he's
Okay,
changed
but
allegiance to
he now
Spain.
plays for Spain, but his
Yeah.
dad was Glenn. I'm sure his dad was Glenn Hussein that played for Liverpool.
Oh,
I'm sure that's
right.
his old
Okay.
man.
Well, he's a
But,
quality player. Quality player.
yeah.
I mean, if you like a defender, one of your back line to bring the ball out and create something.
Yeah, he's a footballer. He's a footballer. He's a good footballing centre half. But so Zabani.
Oh,
Zabani
yeah.
can get stuck in, but he's got a wand of a left foot, and he's a
Yeah.
really good footballing centre half as well. When you said tricky, are you saying tricky for both sides, or tricky for Bournemouth, or tricky for Arsenal, or both?
Well, if they underestimate us, it could be tricky for Arsenal. I mean, but the Arsenal seem to have this thing this season where they just don't know how to lose, if that kind of makes sense. They always seem to grind something out, don't they, at some point? I mean, I know they were struggling against Leicester City, but still managed to get a result.
They struggled against Brighton. They weren't just Leicester City. They struggled against Wolves or someone like that as well. They struggled in a fair few games this season.
Yeah.
And it's basically the opponent not finishing their dinner. That
This
stopped
is
them
the
from
problem with
winning
us,
games.
and that's what I said on I think it was on Inside Gooners. I said, we've got to be clinical, to get anything out of the game, because I mean, if you saw us play against Leicester, I mean, we weren't clinical in front of goal. And if we have a performance like that, we did everything else apart from, get shots on targets. And, it's kind of, we get into that final third of the field and can't really create anything. So if we struggle like that, then it's going to be a difficult game for us. But, I've got everybody.
What do you trust more? Do you trust more do you stronger defensively or stronger attacking wise?
Stronger attacking.
Stronger attacking. So your defense is not that strong then? Is your defense able to keep a Jesus or a Havertz quiet?
Do you know what, that for me, yeah, they can do for the majority of the game, but there's always just that little bit of lacking concentration that you let a quality player slip in and that's it. They can punish you. I mean, in the air as well. In the air, I think Arsenal might be able to dominate us in the air as well, which is going to be from set pieces. Balls into the box, they might be able to dominate us. I mean, even their defenders, Saliba, is it?
Yeah, and Gabriel.
I mean, he scored a worldie against us last year. Gabriel, another one, who can, punish you from a set piece. So, yeah, we've got to be on our best defensively, but I think, with Bournemouth, sometimes, we're set up in some respects to concede, if that kind of makes sense. Because,
Yeah.
We, I mean, I'm not worried about when we go 1-0 down, because I always think there's a goal in us to claw something out. So, yeah, be an interesting one. But I mean, when you play the top six, like you guys, for example, as well, it's always a case if you get a point off them, then it's a good point on the tally at the end of the season. Is the way I see it. But yeah,
can I just ask Ryan a quick question?
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, you carry on.
When you play in the FA Cup, you're away to Tamworth.
Yeah.
Right. Will Huddersfield put out their first team, or will he make changes for the Tamworth game?
I mean, it's a tricky one, really, isn't it? Because we want to obviously go through. Because like I said, I do want a little cup run. I'm not expecting just to go far, but I do think we want to do a little cup run. So, no, I think he will put out a good core group of first teamers that will be able to win the game. He might put a few youngsters in there, but yeah, more or less, I think we should go strong because it's another competition. And I think I love the FA Cup. I think it's a great traditional tournament, isn't it? And so yeah, no, I think we will take this one. Overall, I think we'll have a few first teamers out there. Absolutely.
Okay, there's a reason why I'm asking, because I'm in a competition, and in the competition you can have 5 picks for the FA Cup, 5 teams that you can pick, and you score points for winning the game and score points for goals scored. Away scores double points for each goal scored, and home scores 1 goal. It's just 1 point. So I've gone in with 5 teams, and my teams are: I've gone in with Lincoln, I've gone in with Mansfield, Wrexham, Birmingham, and Huddersfield.
Oh yes, come on, you back the boy.
So that's why I'm asking, because I need. They're all playing. All 5 of these teams are playing away from home, so I'm hoping that they will win and score me double points for each goal they score, because it's ranked on winning a game. You get 2 points for an away win, 1 point for a home win, but every goal is 2 points as well. So I'm looking to rack up points early before the big clubs come in.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, no disrespect to Tamworth, but I think even if we make quite a few changes, I think that will still win the game. Fantastic. If we're professional, if we're still professional, of course, because Tamworth's in the National League North or South or something.
Yeah.
Are they
I'm going to hold it now. I'm definitely now, because that was my picks before. I did these a couple of days ago, and I'm just looking at my form now.
The Huddersfield games it's on BBC. Have took the game, so it's a Friday night.
Yeah. Friday night. Yeah.
Because I've got Birmingham at Sutton United. I've got Wrexham at Harrogate.
Yeah.
Mansfield are at Curzon Ashton. Yeah. And Lincoln are at Chesham United.
Yeah.
So I've just thought to myself, points. Get the points in early if you can.
You know what the FA Cup's like? It may spring a surprise, but hopefully it's not
surprise.
It's not us that surprises. Yeah, it's not us that the underdog. You know, everybody wants Tamworth to win on Friday night, probably when we face them in the FA Cup, because everyone loves a giant killer, doesn't they, in the FA Cup? You know, one of those teams that you don't expect to win goes and beats somebody that you wouldn't think they would. So yeah. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey ho! Just very, very, very quickly before we finish up, just some other news. Now, guys, if you've got any points on these, just shout out as we go through them quickly. Obviously, Manchester United made a hugely unpopular decision with Sir Alex Ferguson in terms of the cost-cutting drive this week. Obviously, he's been removed from his ambassador? It's
his ambassadorial role, and for me, I'm going to put in here. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think this is utterly disgraceful. You know what this guy did for Manchester United, and you treat him like this. And they talk about cutting. You know, this is nothing that Ineos talking about cutting costs, but yet they're increasing the wage bill. They've given a brand new contract to Bruno Fernandes at 300k a week. But you can't, and the cutting staff that have been there years in the building, like the training ground or whatever. You know what I mean? These are people's livelihoods that you're talking about, and you're just cutting jobs left, right, and centre just to save a little bit of money. But you're happy to pay crazy money on contracts that really, the group at Man United don't really deserve. So I think it's a disgusting decision, and I go back to it. They're all about, Ineos have come in to make as much money as they can. They don't care about the football, the history, or the identity of this club. So for me, I think it's shocking. Anyway, that's all really now.
So I think they're getting rid of 250 staff employees as well. All they need to do. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I don't know because I'm not close to this. I'm not, in the boardroom, but Sir Alex Ferguson is getting on a bit, and does Sir Alex Ferguson really want to be in the ambassadorial role? It could have been a bit of both parties talking to each other. It could have been, I'm not sure. It could have been, but all they need to do is sell Anthony for half of what they bought him for, or just under, because he's not worth that much. But sell him, and his wages alone and the fee that you get back for him will stop you needing to get rid of Alex Ferguson and 250 members of staff. Simple as. You reduce the wage bill by selling that one player that does nothing for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nottingham Forest, they unveiled their beautiful new-looking training ground this week. Millions of pounds been spent on it. I don't know if you guys have seen any footage of it, but they reckon that this might be the reason why Forest have had such a good start to the season. But, they've got brand new meeting rooms, video rooms, dugout seats, new change rooms, swimming pools, saunas, ice bath, showers. Everything's been revamped. A new gym. Dining area and the state-of-the-art kitchen. So
Sounds lovely. But anyway, I'm not.
Apparently is the reason why they're doing so well.
They got pool tables and that there, so they should be training for football, not for playing pool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Too much luxury nowadays in these training grounds.
Oh, is there slightly?
Anyway,
moving on. Back in the day, you were lucky to find a field to train on. But anywho, Chelsea outcast Ben Chilwell. He's been linked with a move away from Stamford Bridge. Napoli, they signed Billy Gilmore from Chelsea earlier on this season. Yeah. They're interested in him. They're expecting to complete the deal in January. But Fulham, Palace, and Ipswich are also said to be monitoring the player. So that'd be interesting to see how that one.
Yeah, what's interesting for me on that is Conte's the manager there now. And when he was Tottenham's manager, a lot of people said he's a win now manager, but he wants you to buy the £100 million players in order to go and win. You know, he wanted the Bastonis of this world and players like that. Yeah, he's gone to Napoli. Napoli, who are absolutely skint, by the way. Yeah, okay, they've offloaded the striker, who I think is shockingly bad, that Osimhen. They've unloaded him on loan to Gala, and they've brought in Lukaku as a replacement for him. But they didn't have to pay much for Lukaku from Chelsea. Then they've gone and got McTominay for dirt cheap. They've got Billy Gilmore for dirt cheap. Who sits top of the Italian league at the moment? Napoli. Napoli are clear by loads of points in the
really?
Yeah, and they've bought. If you want, they've been shopping in Lidl to buy their players. That's what they've been doing. And everyone was saying Conte is we need to shop at Marks and Sparks and stuff like that. But he's been shopping at Lidl's, and it just shows you what a coach can do. He's bought these players in. McTominay starts. Gilmore's coming off the bench very late in games at the moment. But yeah, they're top in the league. And you know, if at the end of the day, if he wants Ben Chilwell, then I ain't going to argue with the man, because the man's doing well in Italy. So
yeah. Well, I didn't realise they were top of the league, but EFL news. So obviously, recently the managers of the month and players of the month have been announced, which you can all see there. Any that really sort of stand out, Ryan, on that lot?
I've been impressed, especially with Steve Bruce, because Steve Bruce has been out of the game for a few years now, and obviously he went into Blackpool, and he really did. You know, he did really get the manager bounce that Blackpool Football Club are wanting. And yeah, I think it's great to have him back in the game, to be fair, and he's doing very well for himself. So yeah, it's big up to him. But I'm surprised Darren Moore's on that list, especially the nightmare we had with him at Huddersfield. But anyway, he's doing well for Wales in League Two, so fair play to him. Chris Wilder always, for me, Chris Wilder is always a good Championship manager. But when he gets to the Premier League, he just gets found out too much. So it's no surprise for me. Sheffield United did start the season well as well. But yeah, I think I've gone through everyone there, to be fair. You've also got a League One Player of the Month there, Poku, who is a very talented player at Peterborough, full of pace, skill, and is really started the season well. Scoring lots of goals. So it doesn't surprise me to see him in there. But yeah, a nice bunch of contenders, and I would like to wish my congratulations to all of them. But it's about doing it for the full season. Can you get your clubs to the promotion land? Of course. Anyway, I'm waffling. Moving on.
So when did they win? Are they for September?
That's for What's the date now?
I was going to say, because we're in the middle of October, so that's September.
Yeah,
okay,
September.
Well, the curse has come to Chris Wilder then, because they got beat by Leeds 2-0 tonight.
Yes, that normally happens, doesn't it, with the old manager of the month? Yeah. Jack Wilshere set to leave Arsenal's under-18s role as manager to take up first-team coach role at Norwich City. The deal won't be completed before Norwich's game this weekend, but looks set to be completed in time for their following game next week. But he looks set to move on from his role at Arsenal, which I'm sure is a good challenge for him. Talk about Ronaldo going to Wrexham, but ex-Match of the Day pundit Mark Lawrenson has said that anything's possible in football, but even Cristiano playing for Wrexham, I would say it's highly improbable. He's more likely to purchase the club than sign for them in my eyes. So I don't know. Can anyone see Ronaldo one day drop into League One standards?
Absolutely not. And this media hype of Wrexham needs to stop. I'm not interested in it, guys. It's not a fairy tale. They've got lots of money behind them, and that's why they've been able to climb the ladder. So for me, what a load of nonsense this story was in the first place, and I'm glad it's like that. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm not a Wrexham fan. Anyway, moving on.
And finally, then, just to wrap up tonight, League One manager has been handed a free match ban for furiously squaring up to his player, which was Bolton boss Ian Evett. He's been handed a free game touchline ban for squaring up to Shrewsbury Town star Morgan Feeney. He's now been punished for that incident which happened the other week. But that's it. I mean, we've discussed a lot in this sort of two and a bit hour window. And Jose, thank you very much for being our first guest on the show. It's a privilege. Thank you for staying up with us.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd love to do it again. It's superb. I'm glad to have met you two as well. Actually on camera rather than messaging each other and that.
See the chat,
so
yeah.
It's been really, really good. And yeah, I wish you every success in your shows, guys. But yeah, more than if you need me again, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I was quite right about the timings before we started the show.
You were very right.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, trial and error. It's only our first one doing these.
This action packed. You had a lot. When you started telling me the run sheet, I was like, you've got a lot to get through.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. But the thing is varied as well. So you keep people hooked, if you like, because you're changing, you're varying it. It's not the same bubble that you're talking about the same thing all the time. And because of that, it's great. Do you know what I mean? So fantastic. Well done. Great concept.
No, thank you, Jose, and thank you for joining us. And Ryan, thank you for preparing, obviously, this show with me. And obviously, we will be back next week for our next show, which I believe we'll be doing on the Sunday next week.
Yeah, it's my birthday next week. So
happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And thank you to everybody that's commented. Thank you to all our guests, Johnny from Reading, Mark from Luton. Big shout out to Hoppy for sending us a video with his thoughts on the Morecambe situation. Again, thank you, Jose. And until the next time, guys, tune in and we'll see you soon.
TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in All Departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.